The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Sports talk hosts and sports radio listeners rejoice.
That's right.
We made it.
That's right.
We made it. We battled the summer. We battled July and August. We battled horrible takes. We battled so many things in the down days of sports talk just to get to this week, week 1 of the NFL season, week 2 of college football, heading into week 3 of high school football. We did it. We did it, guys. It was a collective effort, but we all rallied together and fought our way through, and here we are in the best time of year, football season.
It couldn't be better. It felt great this weekend. I don't know what you guys did on Saturday, but I watched college football from noon until midnight, and technically till 2:30, whenever that Washington game ended. So I was watching football all weekend long.
It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. We welcome you in. Happy, not Monday, Tuesday, technically our Monday. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here as we are off and rolling. Going to recap college football week 1, of course. We'll, of course, be looking ahead to week 1 of the NFL season. The Cincinnati Bengals, the New England Patriots coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock to kick off, and then we are full steam ahead. We'll talk about, there's really no update on Jamar Chase, but we'll talk all things Bengals. Captains were announced over the weekend. We know who the ruler of the jungle is going to be. We'll get to all of that coming up in a bit. But we are going to open up with some college football. We'll get to some UC stuff coming up here in just a moment as well. Elliot, you asked about Saturday. I don't know. You guys are familiar with Altar, right? The Altar Nights? Yeah. They have a thing called Altar Fest, okay? And it's supposed to be a big fundraiser for the kids. You know, it's for the books and all this fun stuff. I'm assuming that's what it's for, but you drink a lot there and you gamble a lot there.
No,
so
that's good.
As I sacrificed my Saturday night, playing blackjack. I donated my money to the school and they gave me some brewskis in return. It was like a weird little trade-off, all for the kids. The sacrifices I made for the youth of tomorrow. I feel pretty good about my weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds beautiful.
It sounds like you guys didn't give back to any schools this weekend. You guys selfish, all of you.
No. I took money from schools.
You took
Correct.
money.
Correct.
No, it's a new month. I did give money to schools. My NIL donations.
NIL donations.
Redid
and of course,
September 1st.
You're graduated now, so,
How much you give per month?
Oh, no.
He's a
We got
generous
Caleb
guy.
Downs and Quinshaw Judkins in the top transfer class at Alabama basketball, so it's working.
But Casey, welcome in. Happy Monday/Tuesday.
Happy Monday/Tuesday. Yeah.
You feel pretty good. Your team, by the way, he's working hard behind the scenes. The stink list, I'm learning about the stink list, but look at that smile. Look at that smile, dude. Like, he is so excited for the stink list this week.
I opened the document back up and saw the tier list, and I just smiled from ear to ear. I just can't wait. It's going to be a great NFL season, and it's going to be a great stink list season. Can't wait for that. I also had a great weekend, though. I mean, it was phenomenal. I forgot how much I enjoy college football. I really started to enjoy it last season, but this year I just flat out watched it nonstop on Saturday. And then yesterday, disappointing, but that was the only disappointing game, and it was filled with funny bits and funny remarks. So can't get any better than that.
Yeah, I know the one guy that is probably the most happy in the room. Look, I love college football. I love football in general, but I can't seem to reach the level of the guy to my right over here, Mr. Jacob Tissett, who I could feel his smile over the weekend. I didn't even talk to him. I could just tell you were smiling ear to ear, enjoying college football. Look, we talked about it last week. It really wasn't the sexiest week of games or lineup of games. We get excited for week 1, and then usually for me, week 1, you start going down the list of games. The games aren't always the sexiest. There's a couple you circle. You get to the games. They're okay. I feel like for a weekend that didn't have a whole lot of top 25 matchups, like I have so many notes of just games I want to touch on here to open up. But I thought it was a wild weekend for week 1. And I don't know. It has nothing to do with the 12-team college football playoff. But, I mean, we know the Georgias and Ohio States are sitting at the top. But, man, I do feel like this 12-team playoff field, and, again, not overreacting to week one, there's just so many question marks for teams, and then there's teams that had question marks that looked really good in week one. I'm already super jacked for the season. Week one provided a lot of entertainment, a lot of talking points, and a lot to discuss here as we open up the show today.
Even though most of those top-ranked teams played FCS teams, low Division I teams, and won, in a lot of cases, 50, 60, 70 to nothing. I think we learned a lot about a lot of teams across the country this year. And one thing I don't know that I necessarily thought of when thinking about the 12-team playoff is we're going to get to like week 9 or week 10 with like 30 teams in play for the playoff, I think, which is going to be incredible to see. There's going to be so many good games across the country that mean something. And just even 1 week, I guess, too, if you count week 0 into the college football season, I've almost come all the way around on the 12-team playoff. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. And I think we have a lot of teams this year that can compete. I think there's a lot of teams that I think could legitimately win the championship. Obviously, the top 2 dogs, Clemson or Georgia and Ohio State. Georgia played Clemson and won pretty handily. They controlled that game for the most part. They had 6.3 yards per carry. They just dominated in both trenches. But I still think Clemson is a competitive team this year. I think if Cade Klubnik can show a little bit of improvement, I don't think the ACC is that strong. I think they could still compete and get back into the playoff. And then Ohio State obviously struggling for the first half and then pulling away late against Akron. I think the Big Ten might be a little bit more open than we think. So I don't know how top-heavy the league is at all this year, talking about college football as a whole, but I think there's a lot of really, really competitive teams.
Yeah, and look, so as we open up the show today, we're going to look at we're going to kind of go around and just kind of, for one, college football as a whole, but the most impressive win, most impressive team from over the weekend, and then the most disappointing team, the most disappointing loss from over the weekend, going all the way back. I guess you can go back to Thursday. I mean, there was a lot of games. I mean, even going back to the Colorado. I feel like that Colorado game was like ages ago. That's how much college football was played over the weekend. But see, that's what's wild about the ACC. Look, already with Clemson and Florida State, already looking at them, I'm kind of shaking my head. I'm not really sure. Florida State, I'm definitely kind of shaking my head up and down, laughing a little bit. But like Clemson, the ACC is going to get a playoff spot. Yeah. The ACC is going to, they're going to get a home. One of those teams is going to get a home game. Like, someone from the ACC is going to get a home game I guess technically they'd get a bye.
Maybe not. Well,
they'd get a bye.
And they might not be a 2-bid league.
Yeah. So technically, but either way, that locks up a bye. This is like when take the home game element out of it. It's like years ago when everyone in the NFC East was finishing under 500 and the Dallas Cowboys had to welcome in Tom Brady it wasn't Tom Brady and the Bucks. Who did they have? Someone had to go play at Dallas that was like well above 500, but Dallas was like 8 wins or 7 wins or something crazy like that. Some bad team, average team at the most, is going to lock up a bye for the first round of the playoffs. That we can already tell, no doubt. But right off the bat, again, over the weekend, the team that looked, the most impressive win, the most impressive team that you guys saw over the weekend. Elliot, I know you're not huge on college football, but you dive into the weekend. Obviously, you sound like you made some money over the weekend, which congrats.
I did.
Congrats.
Thank you.
But which win was the most impressive to you, team that looked most impressive? Only one weekend, but that's what we do. We overreact on the first day coming out of the weekend.
For me, I don't think this is even close, and I think the answer is the Georgia Bulldogs. I thought they were going to win. I didn't think they would just absolutely shut out Clemson from start to finish. They had, I think I read they passed midfield twice. So when you have that level of dominance against, what are they ranked, 14th? I know preseason rankings, yada, yada, yada. But Georgia looked absolutely incredible. To see them absolutely rout Clemson, it goes a long way for my future. Shout out to Georgia. On their team, but also I think if they can take care of these first couple of weeks, and then you go into the SEC, which I think they will run through, this will be an undefeated team yet again. They're going to break that undefeated record. I don't know what the actual number is.
45. They're 5 away.
They're 5 games away. They'll beat that, and they will have the most consecutive regular season wins out of any team to ever play this sport. They're dominant. They're incredible. And they're going to keep going.
I thought Georgia looked incredibly beatable on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, they were not even close to one of my most impressive teams.
Really?
I really didn't think Georgia looked that good on Saturday. I think Clemson's D-line's pretty overrated, and I thought they got decent pressure throughout that game. Georgia's a really, really good team, and their stars played well. But, yeah, I thought Georgia looked pretty beatable on Saturday.
For you, the team that was the most impressive win right off the bat?
Maybe I'm biased, but
no.
I think it was Alabama. I mean, you have new coaches across the board. You have new players at a lot of key positions. I mean, your O-line, you have a brand new center. And I mean, that's, you know, we talked about it with the Eagles so much, losing Jason Kelce, how much adding a new center to your offense can do to overhaul communication and everything like that. And Alabama didn't miss a step. I mean, Jalen Miller only threw the ball 9 times, but he completed 7 of them for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he scored 2 more on the ground. So he looked great. And the freshman wide receiver, Ryan Williams, 2 catches, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. That Randy Moss stat line in his first game. And fun fact about him, he's 17 years old. He reclassified as a junior to be at Alabama a year early, and he won't turn 18 until about 2 weeks after the national championship game. So he was the youngest player to score in college football this week, and he did so twice. I thought they looked great. The defense with the new defensive coordinator, the old Southern Miss head coach, Kane Womack, they looked phenomenal. 2 early picks against Western Kentucky. I understand it's Western Kentucky, but TJ Finley, a Power 5 quarterback that's seen Alabama twice, once at LSU, once at Auburn. I thought they would at least look a little bit bumpy early. Not that I ever thought they would lose the game, but the fact that they were able to keep their hand on their foot on their throat and really shut down Western Kentucky the entire game and dominate even with their second stringers for most of the second half was really, really good to see in Kalen DeBoer's debut for me.
We'll keep an eye in the chat, but the most impressive win from over the weekend, most impressive team that you guys thought really caught your attention over the weekend. We'll get to the chat in a moment. For me, I'm going to go with the team that I've kind of been looking at, why are people overlooking this team? I feel like a lot of people have just been kind of, piling on that this coach has come in with the seat being maybe not boiling hot, maybe not even super hot, but definitely warm. And that's USC and Lincoln Riley. I bring this up because I caught on game day, I think week 0, Nick Saban brought it up. He was kind of looking at everyone why are we ignoring USC in the Big Ten? Lincoln Riley has, led dynamic offenses regardless of who the quarterback is. This idea, I get it. We're going to lose Caleb Williams. They're going to take a step back. Well, Lincoln Riley offenses, they have lost, Kyler Murray. They've lost Baker Mayfield. They have lost, multiple Heisman winners across the board, and they always come back as dynamic and explosive as ever, whether it was at Oklahoma or USC, talking about the offensive side of the ball. Nick Saban was really high on the defensive coordinator that USC went and got. They made it nothing but, that was their biggest point of emphasis in the offseason was addressing the defense. The thing with USC is when you look at the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten always gets overpropped with, that's the defensive conference, right? And I look at the Big Ten as that's just not an offensive conference. There are very good defenses in the Big Ten, don't get me wrong, but the Big Ten is atrocious offensively and has been for a long time. Let's just be real. When we talk about how dominant teams look defensively in the Big Ten, a lot of it is because who are you playing? Now, there's bad teams in every conference, but every week outside of Ohio State, what are the dynamic offense? Penn State every once in a while, when you look at the Saquons in the past, every once in a while you'll get a dynamic offensive players, and you'll have some explosive offenses. But Penn State might be the most consistent second offensive team in the Big Ten. Michigan, as of late, don't get me wrong, but overall the Big Ten's not a good offensive conference. It just isn't. So USC, they're going to be arguably right there with Ohio State having the second most dynamic offense in the conference. All they need is just an average defense. It's not like they're going up against these big-time quarterbacks or offenses. I'm not saying that the Pac-12 is dynamic as far as that's concerned, but I would take a lot of those Pac-12 offenses over any of the offenses in the Big Ten outside of Ohio State and Michigan in recent years. So at this point, for them to go out there against USC, against an SEC team, with all the lights, it was 60,000 fans. It was just an
biggest crowd ever at Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, and that's hosted Super Bowls and stuff there too. That's what's wild. I was really impressed with USC because we were going to talk about Miller Moss. We're going to talk about the 378 passing yards, but defensively, I'm not saying they looked fantastic, but they made the plays that they needed to make at the biggest opportune times. National TV against LSU. We'll talk about them more, I'm sure, coming up. But for me, the most impressive win, the most impressive team over the weekend was USC just because of that. I think that USC could be a dangerous team in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's a playoff team. We'll get to Oregon in a moment. Oregon, I like Oregon, but I don't know what that was. I don't want to overreact to that too much. I think there are 4 playoff contenders out of the Big Ten right now, maybe some sleepers. I don't think USC is a sleeper. I actually think that they are going to be a playoff contender. I looked at their schedule in the Big Ten. They play Michigan and other. Michigan's not outscoring USC. Michigan's defense can slow them down. I don't see them outscoring USC.
We're going to have to get to Michigan, too.
Yeah. I don't know who's outscoring USC in the Big Ten based on that schedule. So everyone could just chalk in Ohio State and Oregon to the Big Ten championship. Maybe Michigan on the outside of Oregon. I'm like, no, I think the top 3 teams are Ohio State, Oregon, USC at this point. But I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that, and I know we're going to get to yours. I think I already know who you're. Another Big Ten team, I'm assuming, most impressive win over the weekend.
Well, I was going to say Penn State, but after having more consideration about it, I think Miami's more impressive win over Florida. I mean, they kind of made a statement. They run Florida at this point, right? They run Florida. And I think that the way that Clemson played, it makes you kind of hesitate to slot them in as the ACC champion. So I think that conference is a lot more.
Good call.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more competitive than it is led to be. So I really like Miami. They were really impressive. 41-17. That's getting it done.
Yep, and again, that was a spotlight game too. Everyone was looking at. They weren't playing some nobody. We're not overreacting to that. They played in a game that really. It was kind of it was like a death match almost. Whoever lost that, it was going to be, the seat was going to heat up for whatever coach lost. The program was going to be in shambles. Whoever lost, Florida is just in shambles right now.
Yeah, I don't think Billy Napier has a seat per se. It's gotten so hot that it's burned, and I think it's just kind of like a pile of ash. We need, people need to be harder on Florida for that decision to fire Dan Mullen and hire Billy Napier. Billy Napier was an in-state coach at an FCS or not FCS school, a low group of 5 school in Louisiana. LSU fired their head coach and didn't even look at him.
Yeah.
That should tell you something. Dan Mullen beat Kirby Smart as the head coach of Florida. He won 30 games in 3 years, and you fire him for a guy that's never done anything at the Power 5 level, and then now he still sucks.
Yeah.
So, I don't really know what their goal was there. He's been able to recruit all right, which has been able to save his job for the time being, but I don't see them winning more than 4 games this year. So, and that Florida State rivalry game, what channel is that going to be on?
Toilet bowl, baby.
Yeah, that's going to be horrendous.
Was Kirk right about Florida State all along?
Well, the good thing about the expanded playoff is they still have a chance.
That's right.
So maybe.
Just one more expansion level. Maybe a second tier needs to be added, no doubt about it. But all right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We discussed, again, the most impressive wins teams coming out of week 1 of the college football season. But what about, we've kind of touched on it, those teams that we were like, what the hell was that? The least impressive teams coming out of week 2. We'll also get to Jacob's top 10. He's going to be releasing his top 10 every Monday throughout the college football season, of course. So we'll get to that coming up around the corner as well. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. All right, and welcome back. Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. You guys, you asked if Kirk Herbstreit, was right about Florida State all along. In the last 3 games for Florida State, I don't know if any of you guys saw this, okay? In the last 3 games, Florida State has been physically dominated, okay? They have been outrushed 825 yards to 182, and they have been outscored 115 to 37. Man, oh man. That's a tailspin. The 14 playoff, man, oh man, that has made some programs and it has destroyed some programs. The difference between making it and not making it, well, we're looking at it. I mean, it's brutal as far as that's concerned. But no, we open up the show with reaction to week 1 of college football. The most impressive wins coming out of week 1. And the cool part is we didn't overlap. We didn't even announce. No. We'd never talked before about what our teams were. Yeah. All those wins were impressive, no doubt about it. That's why I kept saying for a week that did not have a whole lot of sexy top 25 matchups, it was kind of crazy to look around and say a lot of teams showed out over the weekend. Some will try to discredit some and say, well, you're playing a bunch of FCS schools, you're playing a bunch of nobodies. My thing is, if you're going to play those teams, you need to make them look that way.
That's right.
Yep.
And
that's right.
To Tennessee's credit, they made their FCS team look that way. To Alabama's credit, to Ole Miss's credit, they dominated those opponents. Ohio State didn't look great early on. We'll get to them in a moment. They pulled away, dominant second half, of course. If you're going to play those teams and you're going to be a top 5, top 10 team, you need to look like it, and credit to most of those teams.
Yeah.
But not all of them look that way. So let's get to the teams, the most unimpressive losses, or at least most unimpressive teams, because I'm not going to lie to you, the team I picked won over the weekend, and I still have them on my most unimpressive list coming out. But we'll start with Jacobs. Jacob, where are you at right now with the most unimpressive team coming out of week 1? And I should have just said you're not allowed to pick Florida State, but if you did, I want to hear.
I'm not going to pick Florida State.
I think that's a universal one.
I think I know who you're going to pick, so I won't pick them as well.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Michigan. And Michigan won by 20 points.
Yep.
And I understand that when you look at the box score, maybe they look pretty good. But Alex Orji, the projected starter basically the entire year, all year last year with J.J. McCarthy obviously going to the NFL, everyone thought Orji would be the starter this year. That wasn't the case. They went with a former walk-on quarterback is going to be the starting quarterback. They ran sort of a two-quarterback system, and if you know anything about football, the best teams always have two quarterbacks.
That's correct.
So that's a good start for them. But the main thing I was focused on was EA Sports College Football 25 cover athlete Donovan Edwards.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, 11 carries for 27 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. What a stud. Glad they put him front and center. real great game for him. So, yeah, the guy that doesn't really play much continued to not play very well. So we'll see what happens with Michigan this year. But the defense is still great. Will Johnson looks incredible. He's the best corner in the country. Brandon Graham got pressure seemingly every snap he was out there. He's a phenomenal defensive lineman. I think their defense is going to be fine and keep them in a lot of games. But that is a team that fell drastically down my Big Ten rankings after this weekend.
Serious question. Was that the worst orgy you've ever seen?
It was one of, yeah. I was upset when they took him off. I was really upset when ESPN fired RG3, and then I was really upset when Michigan announced Orgy wasn't starting because no more orgies in the end zone this year. Upsetting.
Hate when there's no orgies in the end zone.
That's right.
I mean, by the way, 5 orgies. No, 6. 6 orgies in the opening or second segment of the show. Not bad.
That's pretty good.
All right, Elliot, what about you? Which team looked the least impressive to you coming out of week 1?
Well, I'm going to only say the one that I watched, so maybe I'm wrong on this. But Virginia Tech was supposed to have, I think, a decent year this year.
Yeah.
And they lose as 14-point favorites to Vanderbilt.
Raise your hand if you had Vanderbilt.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. Moneyline.
So they looked terrible. They were down, I think, 17-0 at one point. They did come back and fought a little bit in the second half, forced it to overtime. Vanderbilt would go on to win in overtime. But I felt like that was another team that could compete for the ACC. And maybe they will not now because they look disgusting.
Yeah, they were one of the popular dark horse picks, I think, to be a playoff team, and Kyron Jones just didn't look great. Vanderbilt, sneaky team this year. Diego Pavia, transfer quarterback from New Mexico State. They beat Auburn in Jordan Hare last year. He's an exciting player with some big time games under his belt. I think Vanderbilt could be interesting.
I agree. This is another one. This is a throwaway. I saw the score. I didn't watch this game, so that's why I didn't pick it, but I was going to pick it. Is there a reason Texas Tech had to go to overtime to beat Abilene Christian? 52-51?
Yeah.
52-51 went to overtime.
That's tough.
That's not great.
Was that in the Elite Eight or what was that?
Unfortunately that was on Saturday. So I didn't watch that game, didn't know that game was happening, but I imagine that spread was somewhere in the 30s and it went to overtime. They won by a point.
Woof.
Not bad. Casey, any team stand out to you as being ook?
I didn't watch some of these games, but some of the scores that stand out, UCLA not losing, but only winning by 3 points against Hawaii. I get it's at Hawaii, but 16-13, that's pretty striking.
The performance matched the coach's press conference at the Big Ten Media Days, by the way.
And then the other disappointing one was Miami of Ohio. I know that's it's just something that we were really hoping that they would kind of come out and beat a stinky team like Northwestern, but they just did not look good on offense whatsoever. They lose 13-6. It's just like, you got to be kidding me.
Terrible. That was the exact kind of game I thought it was going to take for them to win, too. Like, watching that game, that's exactly what had to happen for them to win, and they just didn't take advantage.
Yeah, it's a tough way to lose.
Is their quarterback Blaine's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
He's been their quarterback for, I believe, 6 years?
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett Gabbert. Interesting fella.
He's a good player, I thought.
But other than that, other Power 5 schools that disappointed me, I don't know. I guess Texas A&M, but Notre Dame just looked dominant in that game, so it's hard to really point fingers at them. So,
by the way, shout out to Notre Dame. We did not, when we did our opening segment of the teams with the most impressive wins over the weekend, I do have to put I know we like to kind of poke at Notre Dame, but shout out to Marcus Freeman. I am a Marcus Freeman guy.
He's a great coach.
I hated that he went to Notre Dame because there's a great opportunity for him, but I was like, man, that's going to put me in weird positions where I'm going to be slightly pulling for him each week. I was definitely I want him to succeed at Notre Dame because his coaching trajectory, I think, I'm not saying he got that job too soon. It just worried me, that job being his first one, because There's been coaches with more experience that haven't been able to take that job to the next level where it needs to be. Even though it's been a playoff team, it still hasn't matched the competition on the field. But to get that win over the weekend, I thought over week one, was pretty cool for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. So, Jimmy, don't say we've never said anything nice about your team.
Notre Dame, that defense is
legit,
incredible.
Yep.
That defense is going to get them places this year. I think they're a lock to make the playoffs. That is probably the hardest game on their schedule. Took care of business. Riley Leonard didn't look great, and he owned it after the game. If you watched his post-game interview, it was incredible. He said, I'm the one on the mic right now, but if you watch this game, you know I shouldn't be. Like, shout out to my team, shout out to the guys, and that's exactly what you want to see from a transfer quarterback coming in, leading the team, doing what it took to win, but not a whole lot else. I think he'll get better. I think the O-line will get better as the season goes on, and that defense is going to get them a lot of wins. But there's one other stat line that I just wanted to touch on before we moved off Saturday's college football slate. Number 21 Arizona beat New Mexico 61-39, and that's not necessarily a huge surprise. Arizona was about a 30-point favorite. They came close to covering the spread, but 61-39 is a college football scoregami.
Really?
Scorigamis in college football happen at a very, very low rate. And if you know what a scorigami is, it's the first time that score happens in that sport. They happen a little bit more frequently in the NFL, even though we are running out of options. But college football, they're very, very rare because obviously you play so many games throughout the year, so many different teams that scores happen a lot. But we have a scorigami in week one, which is unbelievable. And another unbelievable thing from that game, Tetsuya Mitchell had 304 receiving yards.
Yes, thank you.
10 catches, 304 receiving yards. 4 touchdowns. It's the first time a wide receiver has eclipsed 300 yards since Jackson Smith and Jigba's historic Rose Bowl game a few years back with C.J. Stroud. Tetsuya Mitchell is legitimately the best receiver in the country. I know a lot of people love Luther Burden. He's great too. I think he's phenomenal, but I think Tetsuya Mitchell is on a different level than any other receiver in America right now. I think he's going to be a top 5 pick. Arizona has maybe 3 first-round picks on that offense, and 4 if you count their corner, who's definitely going to be a first-round pick. Noah Fafita's kind of on the fringe, but their left tackle and Tetsuya Mitchell are both going to be first-round picks. So that's a team I think could really make some noise in the Big 12. There wasn't a lot of surprising teams in the Big 12, and when you have a top 50 pick quarterback, a first-round wide receiver, a first-round corner, and a first-round tackle, that's usually a pretty good formula to win some college football games. So I think Arizona's an exciting team to watch this year.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up that performance because that was one of those.
Unbelievable.
I screenshotted that. I'm like, holy, he had more receiving yards than some teams get total offense. The bad teams get total offense sometimes. Like, pretty wild. So this brings up the next debate because so the team that I thought I was least impressed with over the weekend is the number 3 team in the country, and that was the Oregon Ducks. So this brings up the debate because you said something a while back, Jake, when we were talking about the 12-team college football playoff, that I didn't know if I agreed or disagreed with, and I was waiting until we got into the season, and maybe week one's a little too premature to do that. For one, Oregon got the win. That's the most impressive thing. But when you're taking on a team like Idaho, in fact, the Idaho what? Can anyone tell me what Idaho's what their mascot is?
Vandals.
The potatoes.
They play in the Kibbe Dome.
The Vandals.
It's like 7,000 people.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'm learning.
They
something
still
today.
haven't upgraded that?
No.
Oh,
No
It's
reason
an
to.
unbelievable venue. Unbelievable venue.
So they play Idaho. And I don't remember what the line was. I'm sure it was a massive line, like pretty much all the other.
The Oregon line?
Yeah, what was
I know what it was because I bet it. It was 48.5.
Yeah, 48.5.
They almost
Close.
touched it.
24-14 was the final. So there was an argument you made a while back that the expanded 12-team playoff was going to take away the style points element. Do style points matter? Well, this is a good test. Here's the thing. If I would have told you Oregon plays a team like Idaho, and their quarterback would throw for 380 yards and 2 touchdowns, that they would, have a running back that would rush for nearly 100 yards and a touchdown, 107 total yards on the ground, 380, so about 500 total yards offense. I'd say, that they won pretty handily. That was not a handily win, all right? I mean, I'm not saying that anyone thought that Oregon was going to lose, but that was just one of those, that meme on Facebook or Twitter where, do something, they're poking them with the stick. That was me. Number 3, Oregon beats Idaho 24-14. They're one of the favorites to contend with Ohio State to win the Big Ten. Many people have them as national, picking them to win the national championship and this, that, the other. That's great. And they should have those expectations. I look at them as one of the biggest threats in the Big Ten to Ohio State, no doubt about it. But 24-14, quarterback played well. Running game was okay. I know with the yards, right? From the yard. 24-14, Oregon, I just was not impressed with not dominating the opponent. I do think style points matter. I do think you have to convince people that, hey, not everyone plays an equal schedule. So when you're not playing anybody, you need to make them look like nobodies. they definitely did not make Idaho look like nobodies over the weekend, and that's the number 3 team in the country. 24-14, you're 1-0. You move on to week 2. It could just be week 1. There's no preseason. You're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds. I saw Colin Cowherd's tweet over the weekend, and that was a good point. But, again, I have Oregon at the top of my least impressive coming out of the weekend just because of the expectations. They played to nobody. A lot of teams played nobodies. They're the only ones that didn't look like somebody over the weekend.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They would have been my pick if I didn't know you were going to go that direction. But my main takeaway from this game is I owe Bo Nix an apology. For 2 years at Oregon, I called him check down Bo, Bowie screens, all that good stuff. And apparently that's just Oregon's system. Dylan Gabriel, 41 of 49 for 380 yards. 7.8 yards per attempt. That's incredible. That's almost impossible to do. We were making fun of DJ Uiagalelei's stat line in week 0 with a negative yards per play. This had to have been close. Couldn't have been more than 5 air yards per throw. That was just a preposterous stat line for the quarterback. But obviously Gabriel got his numbers, got his touchdowns. He'll stay pretty high in the Heisman conversation. But taking a look at Oregon's upcoming schedule, if they don't right this ship quick and really lock in, they could be in trouble this week. They play Boise State this week in Eugene. Boise State was incredible this week. And Ashton Jeanty, their running back, had 20 carries for almost 300 yards, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns. If Oregon plays like this against Boise State, they will lose. So that's something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on this weekend because I would be shocked because Oregon was a team that I thought would be right there with Ohio State the entirety of the year. And, I mean, I know Ohio State struggled in the first half, but they made Akron look like Akron for the majority of that game. Yep. So I think Ohio State really stapled themselves as number 1 in the Big Ten. And personally, after this week, USC is my number 2 team in the Big Ten. As an Ohio State fan, they're my biggest worry.
Ohio State, unfortunately, I had a very successful weekend. One of the bets I made was Akron live. Right at, well, I bet it, so after they kicked the field goal to go up 3-0, I was like, you know what, let's just have some fun. So I bet money line, and then I bet live plus 44.5. Plus 44.5 covered up until there was a tip drill interception pick 6 at the end of that game, which cost me everything.
It's brutal.
But nonetheless, very, very fun.
The reassuring thing with Ohio State was there was a couple positions of concern, but the 2 biggest issues of concern, linebacker and offensive line, you were missing your 2 best players. Cody Simon was out, and Donovan Jackson, the guard, was out. So hopefully plugging those 2 guys in, the lineup will be fine.
How was that not a touchdown? The one with his wrist. Isn't it if the wrist is down, right? It's a touchdown.
Yeah, I have watched that video an unhealthy amount of times trying to figure out, because they said he was in the end zone. They said the ball moved. I don't see where the ball moved.
Yeah, I was jokingly texting Jacob. I was saying the ball was moving.
He was making me very upset.
But at the end of the day,
I initially thought the ball was moving. No, I
really?
did think that. When it was
I watched it back, and he dragged it across his chest, but I thought he had control. I don't know. I mean, they obviously didn't call it a touchdown.
No, I'm not saying, but like initially when I first saw it, I was like, that ball's moving. But I thought, and then, when you're at the, everyone at this bar.
At the local watering hole.
Has to be your elbow.
Yeah.
Elbow has to touch the ground, not your wrist. Has to be the elbow.
There is nothing
pinky,
better
dude, not your pointer, pinky, dude. And I'm like, all right, that guy's 5
There's
empty
nothing
glasses.
better than like second row at the bar, doesn't have a stool, but he's the best ref in the country.
Oh, 100%.
And he's in your ear the whole time. Oh, your touchdown's coming back. There's a holding on the left side. No, it's not.
Yeah, the guy in front of me was so annoyed with me. I say. All right. We'll recap UC. We'll get to Jacob's top 10, and then there was some other sports from over the weekend, and Elliot will get us caught up with all of that coming up around the corner as well. With Elliot's headlines, we got a lot more to get into. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett, and we're talking about college football today.
That's right.
I'm talking a little college football
today. And it feels
good. It does feel good. That's why I said when we opened up, I'm like, we made it. We got through the All-Star break of baseball. Holy crap! If football existed in July, I never would have pitched my idea about the draft.
Yeah.
That was a Hail Mary of a topic idea just because there was nothing else to talk about, and I sacrificed my mental health for the show.
It's right about now, with how excited I am to watch any level of football, where I wonder, how does spring football not work?
That is crazy because we try the professional thing, and the only chance I think it genuinely would have is if college football did it.
Yeah.
And I know they toyed with it during that COVID year. But that's the only chance, because I just don't think anybody wants to watch professional leagues that aren't the best of their sport.
You should have the UDFAs play like a 4-game
Correct.
season, and just like the best ones make rosters.
I agree.
That'd be fun.
That is what the XFL is, though.
I mean, kind of, but they draft those guys and like hold draft rights and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. It's just every time college football rolls back around, and I'm excited to watch Nevada versus South Dakota
Correct.
State, and it doesn't matter who's on the field, and it's terrible football, and I'm still excited. I always wonder why it doesn't work.
So the worst Power 4 program in all of sports came away with a 38-20 win over the weekend.
Towson plus 31.5, baby, 1-0.
But the Cincinnati Bearcats 38-20 over Towson. And I know Elliot was smiling. Jacob, was anyone so you told you we were good? They beat Towson. Were you getting any hate on the OC?
No, I was victory lapping hard. I took Towson plus the points.
See?
Yeah, there wasn't really any victory lap on the UC fan side after that game. But
Sorsby looked great.
listen, if you have to take away something, it's that Sorsby looked like a really good, solid quarterback. Looked much better than Emory Jones did last year. Even though Emory Jones did start out hot last year. I don't know if anybody remembered that. After 2 weeks, I think he was a Heisman frontrunner.
I think everyone's kind of scrubbed that.
Yeah, they scrubbed that one off. But Sorsby looked good. I mean, I don't think outside of that there was too much to take away. Xavier Henderson looked good. Joe Royer looked good. And then defensively, less so. They gave up 400, and what was it? What was the number? 400 and 440 yards of total offense.
244 on the ground, 194 through the air.
Flip those, but yeah. I think it was 190,
Oh, my bad. I scrolled down
194
too far.
rushing.
244 in the air and 194 on the ground.
Rushing defense was something that the football team was going to struggle against this year, and they looked atrocious.
You need Dante back.
They need him bad.
Real bad.
Need the Godfather back as soon as possible. They looked, I listen, 38-20, the offense looked good. They looked like they can put up some numbers this year in the Big 12. Defensively, I don't know how that's going to hold up, if that's going to be sustainable when you're playing legitimate teams. No disrespect to Towson. But, yeah, if you're going to give up 200 yards on the ground every game, you're in big trouble.
In the least hater way possible, Towson is a middle-of-the-road at best FCS team. Like, it's not – like when we were talking about Colorado, North Dakota State, Colorado having a little bit of trouble. It's – all right, North Dakota State's national championship contender, wins all the time, dominates the FCS. Not the case with Towson. It got me a little bit concerned for Big 12 play.
Yeah. Big 12 did not come away looking like winners this weekend.
No.
Houston, I know. Houston was a bad one. You had Texas Tech barely beating Abilene Christian. UC, again, 38-20. That's a dominant,
you won the game, yeah.
A dominant victory. But when you give I think there was a point in the third quarter when they'd given up like 380 yards. They kind of shut them down in the fourth. But there was like 380 yards of total offense with 7 minutes left in that third quarter. I was very concerned.
Well, it's going to be tough for the Big 12 anyway. You brought in a quarter of the American Conference. Yeah. A lot of those teams moving up to Power 4 now. Don't want to get that wrong.
Who could ever mess that up?
4 programs moving up to the Power 4 level. That's 4 teams who are all making a transition at the same time. Yeah. The conference as a whole is going to be very mid to top heavy. All conferences are top heavy, but it's going to be a different type of bottom heavy for a conference like that that's getting teams acclimated to that next level of play. I wanted to bring up Evan Pryor, former Buckeye, by the way. 4 carries, 105 yards, averaging 26 yards a carry. Not bad.
Yeah. Kiner looked great as well. Kiner didn't play much.
I was going to say, Kiner didn't play at all.
He had 7.5 yards a carry, though. He looked great.
Yeah, we're cousins.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
He spells it wrong, though.
Different pronunciations.
And spelling, yeah. One of our chatters, Alex, brings up a crazy stat. Maybe I should have fact-checked this before saying it on air, but he confirmed it after I asked him to confirm it. So I'm going to just run with that. He said UC had 26 guys record a stat on defense.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Listen, I was trying to find it because I saw him
scrolling a lot. Yeah,
I saw him type it in there, and I didn't know if that was accurate. It looks like that's accurate.
It almost can't be accurate.
It looks like it's accurate.
That's ridiculous. Like I said with Michigan, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you have 26 defensive players, I worry you have no defensive players.
I'm counting 27.
27 would be even crazier.
I'm sorry. So hold on, I lied. 27 guys played on defense, but 26 of the 27 all in some capacity got a tackle. At least there was 26 different players had a tackle over the weekend.
That's insanity.
That's insanity.
That's a good stat. Yeah, 27. So again,
Shout out Alex. That's a great stat.
Harris Adams was on the field for Cincinnati. He was the only, and I'm not singling him out, but he was the only guy that got out there on defense that did not get a tackle in any form. So, but yeah, that is quite the stat.
That's insane.
As far as that goes, you touched on it a little bit ago. Ohio State 52-6 over Akron, 17-3 in the first half. I never panic and think we're going to lose or anything like that. But again, I was holding them to the same standard I was holding Oregon to. What are you doing? All right, you have national championship expectations, $20 million, NIL invested into this roster. It's no longer amateur sports. I'm going to, if you're going to be the Yankees, if you're going to be the Dodgers, if you're going to spend the most, you're going to have the most expectations. They didn't live up to that in the first half. But again, not making excuses. There's no preseason. There's no nothing. You bring in a new quarterback. You're bringing in an additional top running back. No one feels sorry for you. Once they got rolling, though, obviously that's when things took off in the second half. 21 points in the third quarter, 14 in the fourth when you're playing a lot of your reserves at that point. My only concern, I know you touched on it, it's that offense. The offensive line was the biggest concern last year, and it's the biggest concern I have this year. I know even with guys out, but the bottom line is they're not winning. I thought that Akron, okay, and there's no disrespect to Akron, was getting too comfortable, getting too close to Will Howard too much. If that's happening against bigger and better teams, if that happens on October 12th against Oregon, they're not beating Oregon. Well, maybe they will. I don't know at this point. But the bottom line is that's my only concern. Ohio State will not win a national championship if that offensive line continues to collapse as often as what I saw. But again, with guys out, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the time being. But that's the biggest critique I had. Defense actually forced a turnover. They scored off defense. They never do that. Was my biggest complaint about Ohio State football over the years. They don't create enough havoc defensively, so I don't care about the points per game and stats. You play in the Big Ten, you don't have a lot of good offenses, but are you getting to the quarterback? Are you forcing turnovers? Are you scoring off your defense? They did all of that. Nothing really outside of that to really take away in the win against Akron.
That's a game I look at. I watched the first 3 quarters of that game and then the last minute when my bet lost. But that's a game you look at, like when I, as a not big college football guy, say, why can't it be more like March Madness? That's why. Because Akron, again, in basketball, they could maybe beat a team like
just make a few threes.
You get hot at the right moment. There was at no point in that game where the Akron football program could have gotten a victory against Ohio State. There was no point. And there was like a couple little brief moments, and Ohio State was kind of just hanging in there. I think it was 17-3 for a little bit, and it was never really a blowout up until the very end of the game. But that's just a game. It's just like the talent on one side is so drastically better that it's almost frightening. Because Akron would run a play, and they couldn't run to the first down marker. They didn't have the speed at all.
They were accused of faking injuries down there. Adam Schefter was he's a big Akron fan.
Yeah.
Akron, there was people saying, they're faking injuries. They were to get their starters out of the damn game, which I don't know why you just don't pull your damn starters out of the game.
Yeah.
No shame.
But it is wild to see that. So good for Ohio State, I guess. Good, just dominant victory.
I was never obviously worried about a loss, but a tighter first half had me thinking back to last year. Ohio State week 2 played Youngstown State at home, and they only won 35-7, and that was kind of the moment that everyone got a little bit worried about Kyle McCord, a little bit worried about the trajectory of that team, the trajectory of that offense, and I thought we were kind of seeing the same thing take place with Will Howard in the offense this year, but that wasn't the case. They turned it on in the second half, and he really did look good. He said after the game that he had some nerves going into his first game at Ohio Stadium, and that's certainly to be expected. I mean, he was a Power 4 quarterback, Power 5 quarterback, and he played at Kansas State, though. That's nowhere near the atmosphere of the shoe. So it's expected that he would have a little bit of nerves, and he really did end up playing well. But the main guy, I think, is Jeremiah Smith. And Jeremiah Smith,
I love that he dropped that first
unbelievable.
Pass. You see,
and it was such a touchdown.
You see Chris Carter's tweet, though?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, another Buckeye legend receiver dropped his first pass, and he went on to be pretty good.
That's right. Yeah, Jeremiah Smith, he had over 90 yards, 2 touchdowns in his first game as a true freshman, and I thought it was crazy to suggest that he'd be with wide receiver 1 by the end of the year. I thought people were undervaluing Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate, but after this week,
he just looks different out there.
He
as a freshman.
He does. He just looks different. And Ohio State has reloaded the wide receiver room at an unprecedented rate. From Olave and Garrett Wilson to Jackson Smith and Jigba to Marvin Harrison, and Jeremiah Smith might be the best of them all. He looks unbelievable. They call him Julio in the facility at 18 years old because he's that dominant in practice. So I can't imagine what he's going to do this year, and very, very lucky that he's a Buckeye.
All right, well, Julio Rearing is going to have headlines coming up here in just a moment. But when we come back, Jacob's going to give you his top 10 right into Julio's headlines.
Thank you.
And then we'll get into some Bengals and Red stuff to wrap up the show today. Again, you're watching you're watching and listening.
They play?
Well, just a brief Reds comment. I mean, we're retiring the Reds.
They've beaten the Astros 7 times.
That's right.
I did want to get your thoughts on Rhett Lowder's debut, which we'll get to later on in the show. But I was, we talked about it. Excited, not excited. Something to, a piece for the future, no doubt. But we'll get to that later. Jacob's top 10, Julio's headlines. That's all coming up next. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Yes.
All right, welcome back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett. We're off and rolling here. Again, we appreciate those who in Dayton are listening on the radio. If you're watching on the YouTube side, we appreciate you as well. We're going to get into some Bengals stuff coming up here as they prepare for the Bengals. Last I saw, an 8.5-point favorite according to ESPN Bet, but it just depends on what that move to line. I do want to ask if Jamar Chase is out, how much does that sway the line? I don't think the Bengals will still be favored to win. I am curious how much that sways the line if he is out for Sunday. We'll get to that coming up in a bit. But all right, so with that being said, we wrap up our college football conversation every Monday. I know it's a Tuesday. We were off yesterday. Every Monday throughout the college football season, Jacob's going to give you his top 10, his college football top 10. Now, are these predictions on how you think the top 10 is going to look, or are these just Jacob Tissett's top 10?
Yeah, we'll just say this is my top 10. These are my
Tissett's
top 10 teams. You guys, the loyal listeners of Off the Bench, you no longer have to toil with the AP poll.
That's correct.
It's no longer useful to you because that doesn't matter at all, so we might as well just make our own rankings.
We have the Jacob poll.
So we're going to run with the Jacob poll.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
the
like
JP
that.
poll.
JP poll.
Jacob Jacob Associated Press.
Jap.
Yeah.
Jap?
Cap? Chatterbox Associated Press?
Sure.
Let's run with that. Let's
Sure.
run with that one. All right. We'll go through these fairly quickly. We've already touched on most of these teams in the top 10. My number 10 team is a team we didn't touch on a whole lot. It's Ole Miss. Ole Miss scored the most points out of any team in the top 25. They won 76-0 against Furman. That offense was talked about pretty highly. They have one of the best receiving rooms in the entire country, a lot of defensive transfers to fill those holes. I think Ole Miss is going to compete for the SEC. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and I think they could definitely win this national championship. I just want to see them play a little bit of a better competition before I move them too far up the poll, but they're going to be 10 going into week 2. At number 9, my number 2 team in the Big Ten, even though they're the number 3 team in these rankings in the Big Ten. But they're the team I think has the best chance to beat Ohio State, the best chance to compete for that championship. I have USC at 9. I loved what I saw from Miller Moss, loved what I saw from Lincoln Riley. They proved that they could beat a contender in LSU. LSU's lost 5 straight season opening games, but I do think Garrett Nussmeier and that team's a pretty competitive team. So I think that win means a lot for USC. They are my number 9 team in the country. Number 8, one of the most impressive wins in the country, in my opinion, this week is Miami. Cam Ward proved that he is a true Heisman contender, that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and he proved that I was right, that I wanted him to come to Ohio State. So stinks he's at Miami, but he's truly an incredible talent, and I think he's going to lead them far this year. They were my ACC pick going into the year, and they still are after week 1. I feel pretty confident in that one. Number 7, Penn State went to a hostile environment in Morgantown, West Virginia, and they took care of business. They played very, very well. Drew Aller showed signs that I wanted to see, that he looked better, but it's important to remember that they looked great in a dominant win over West Virginia to open the season last year. And we know how that turned out when he had to play the real competitive teams. He kind of shriveled up and disappeared. So we'll see what happens this year, but I did really, really like what I saw from Penn State. That running back room, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, is really, really special. If you didn't have the 2 best running backs in the country at Ohio State, you'd be hearing about that running back room a lot more because those are really, really talented guys.
That was a big weather game, too.
Huge weather game. There was a massive delay. And
the storm looked insane.
Yeah, Penn State was taking shots at West Virginia, and
really,
that's throwing stones from a glass house.
I actually did. It was the Barstool account, I think, right?
If you're Penn State, you can't make fun of other schools for anything.
Yeah.
Right?
You gotta just keep it.
Yeah,
you gotta keep it
just
locked
keep
up.
down. All right, number 6 is my second ranked team in the Big Ten, but I think the third best contender, Oregon. I can't drop them too far. They won the game. They were one of the preseason favorites to win the conference, but falling from to win the conference and to win the national championship. But falling from 3-6, I think seems fair. If they turn around and they dominate Boise State like a lot of people expect this week, then they'll fly right back up the rankings. I just need to see a little bit more. You're going to learn about Jacob's top 10 here that it's incredibly fickle. There's a lot of week-to-week movement in Jacob's top 10. It's going to be pretty active, very reactionary. Coming in at number 5, speaking of reactionary, Notre Dame. I don't think A&M's very good. I don't think Connor Wegman's very good, but I think that's an impressive win if A&M's a 6-6 team. Kyle Field is one of the toughest, if not the toughest place to play in the entire country. It was packed to the gills on Saturday night, and it was loud every chance they got. They brought power back. They haven't played power at Kyle Field in quite some time. They had power back for the run out, which was incredible, and Notre Dame took care of business. We talked about it earlier in the show, but their defense is very, very good. Benjamin Morrison is the second best corner in the country behind Will Johnson, in my opinion, and he showed it on Saturday night. I think Notre Dame, if Riley Leonard can turn it on just a little bit through the air, he showed great poise to the ground, great poise, short game, but if he can get that deep passing game going a little bit, I think Notre Dame can be a real threat, and they have a very easy conference. But remember, even if they're the number 1 team in the country, they will be the 5 seed. They are not eligible for that first-round bye, so something to keep an eye on as we get deeper into the season. The top 4, which obviously doesn't matter anymore, but used to be what everyone was focused on. Coming in at number 4, I have Alabama. Alabama was ranked 5 before the season. I have Oregon dropped below them, so obviously moved up 1 slot. I think Alabama looked great this weekend. No real holes in that team. I would love to see a little bit more production from that defense. 2 picks were great, but there was a lot of missed opportunities with missed tackles in the backfield and different things like that. But I think that'll come. You have a new defensive system, a lot of new players on that side of the ball. I think Alabama's going to be just fine, and they showed me exactly what I needed to see in week 1 to be confident in that for the rest of the season. Number 3, a team we're going to learn a lot about this week, Texas. Texas dominated this past weekend. Arch Manning threw the first touchdown of his collegiate career, which is pretty cool, and he had a little swag to him. He did a little dance afterwards. I don't know if the world's ready for a Manning with swag, but that could be dangerous.
That would be very funny.
Peyton and Eli had swag. Who knows what would have happened? But Texas goes to Michigan this weekend. Early line had them as a 6-point favorite. We're going to learn a lot about one of those teams, maybe both of those teams this weekend. That's a game that I think everyone's going to have to keep an eye on. SEC, Big Ten fans alike. Number 2 team in the country. No change in the top 2. It's Ohio State. Ohio State's the second best team in the country. They took care of business against Akron. There's not much more to say. They showed what they have on both sides of the ball, and hopefully that just keeps rolling up until you play the Penn States, the Oregons. If they can just continue to dominate their way through the light non-conference and the lighter half of the Big Ten schedule, I really have no worries with them. I think even 10-2 could probably get you into the playoff. Number 1, even though I said they looked beatable, until they lose, they've won 40 games in a row. Until they lose, they will be number 1, and that is Georgia. Carson Beck looked great. The run game looked great. The defense looked great. Not a whole lot of surprises with them, but I'm just really low on Clemson. That's why I'm not necessarily as high on them as a lot of other people. But they stay at number 1 because they deserve it.
I'm not a college football guy, but I'm going to tell you right now, if that's beatable, what I saw on Saturday, then I don't know. I guess I just don't understand it because Clemson looked completely lost and helpless. Dabo looked clueless out there. So I think Georgia's legit.
Very good.
Yeah, and Pete Davidson looked great, or Carson Beck looked great.
What?
Look up.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not
now
wrong.
It makes sense. Now
Pete
we move
Davidson.
on.
He's not wrong.
Pete Davidson and Carson Beck look very similar.
Carson Beck dating a Cavendish sister. Congratulations.
Yep.
Yeah.
He must be really funny too. He must be really funny
Yeah,
too.
he must
Kudos to
be.
you.
He's either really good at sports or really funny, and we know he's really good at sports. So
I was applauding earlier, not because I'm a Buckeye
Yeah,
fan.
his
But
face does look weird.
Carson Beck. If you want to know anything new about Carson Beck, look up Carson Beck DMs. There's a lot of fun nuggets with
I'm
his.
sure this is
with
radio.
his
This isn't like-
DMs. Definitely not to be read on radio, but fun for you to look up in your other time.
is this
Okay.
like what Drake May does in his off time, or not Drake May?
Yeah, the
Will-
SEC quarterbacks have a way about them.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you put Ohio State number 2. I did not think there were some people that said, man, they should be moved up to number 1, or Buckeye fans. And I'm like, no, I mean, if Ohio State would have beat Clemson and Georgia would have blew out Akron, we would not have let anyone fan out. But so, yeah, Ohio State should have stayed at number 2 as far as that's concerned. And until Georgia loses, and again, you said they look beatable. I don't think this is as dominant of a team in recent years. But then again, last year was supposed to be a team that was not supposed to be ready, and Georgia, missed the playoff. They were the real playoff victims from last year. Let me just get that out of the way. But a real program, they regather, they don't pout, and they.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's amazing what happens when your coach encourages players to play in the bowl game when you were snubbed from the playoff. It sets a kind of culture in your program where guys want to fight and want to win games. And maybe when you let all your starters sit out of a bowl game because you're upset that you got snubbed from the playoff. Poor Mike Norvell didn't get to go to the playoff. Aww.
Just utter disrespect.
I won 13 games. My quarterback broke his ankle. I don't get to go to the playoffs.
I mean, this is just such disrespect.
I lost 3 games in a row, but I combined like 80 points. Aww.
It was one of the biggest pouty fits I've ever seen in my life.
The bowl game was rigged.
Let me get this straight.
Smart players sit out too.
Let's get this clear, Jacob. When UCF, although it was annoying, I understand that those types of programs. They don't go undefeated, and they rarely get that opportunity to make the playoff. I get why UCF was so
well, when
hot,
UCF
right?
went undefeated and got snubbed, they came back the next year. They went 5-7, and
they beat Auburn.
They went undefeated again.
And they beat Auburn in the bowl game.
Okay,
and
UCF, they actually have something in their stadium that says national champions.
But again, hold up. I'm not saying
that's a take. There's a lot of schools that have that.
National champions?
Yes. There's 8 polls that rank a national champions that are recognized by the NCAA. One of those polls had UCF at 1. If you go back to Alabama, Ohio State, any of those big-time schools, a lot of those polls from the 30s and 40s where those teams claimed national championships, they only had 1 of the 8 or whatever. So there's 3 or 4 national champions. So obviously in current day, when we play a game for it, it seems crazy, but if you look back at the history of college football,
sure. If I go back to 1930 and they do it, I don't fault them.
Fair.
But in today's modern era, where there's a very clear national
we weren't fighting
champion,
in a war, so they don't get to just claim.
Correct. so UCF loses all credibility forever.
But at that time, UCF in the American Conference, they were the little guy. Florida State's not the little guy. Florida State should be pissed and say, you know what, we're going to come back. To Michigan's credit, as much as they drive me nuts, they had no problem leaning into the villain role. They had no problem leaning into the we're going to show you role. And they rose up against all the – Florida State's crumbling, absolutely crumbling. And they haven't even played anyone good. That's the bad part.
Mike Norvell held Florida State hostage, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. The Alabama job came open, and he asked for one of the biggest raises we've ever seen given to a coach that's never won anything. And he got it. And Alabama didn't do the buyout, and they didn't hire him, and they went the DeBoer route instead. And as an Alabama fan, I am thanking my lucky stars because Norvell is not a guy I want leading my team.
The crazy part is they spent all that money on a coach who hasn't accomplished anything just to get rid of him to do it again with Deion next offseason. So, I mean, it's
Are we already, is that already going?
I saw it yesterday,
so too.
right?
Yeah.
But
Deion,
nonetheless.
how many more weeks till Deion to Florida State's really loud?
3.
Yeah, I was going to say
weeks.
not long.
Especially if Deion beats Nebraska this weekend, that noise gets louder.
If Deion beats Nebraska this weekend, Florida State's on bye, so it's definitely just going to get
You
louder.
like how we worded that too? Deion beats Nebraska. Yeah. I wonder if Ryan Day is going to beat Western Michigan this weekend.
No.
But all right, there was other sports over the weekend.
Well, I don't know if we're going to have time in this segment.
Oh, you have a lot.
Well, it's not going to fit in 1 minute.
Oh, come on, dude. You're 75, 80, 85,
I don't
95,
wanna
95.
do that,
No. When we come back, Elliot's going to get us caught up on the rest of the world of sports. Also, Jamar Chase still has not reported back to practice. There was a little bit of rumblings over the weekend that they're close. This is turning into the Brandon Ayuk thing that was driving me nuts. Not Brandon Ayuk, not Jamar Chase. The media, they're close, and then it goes away. It was driving me crazy. But we'll talk about that as well. Also, Rhett Lowder, we saw him make his Reds debut last Friday night, and this is the first time we've been back together since then to kind of look back at it. So we'll get to all of that coming up. More Off the Bench next.
God, I hate him.
All right. We're going to do some ads real quick before we get into Elliot's headlines. Pawnee Water. Here we go. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing of the brand's use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy us great tasting water. What do you like about that Pawnee Water, Elliot? What's your favorite thing about it?
It's the smoothness, Casey. It's when it goes down my gullet nice and easy. And for me, it's just all the lack of rocks. Sometimes there's rocks in there in your water, but not Pawnee. Pawnee's clean.
And that's the thing they always say. It's like when I grab my water out of the gas station fridge, I'm like, This one has rocks in it.
This has rocks in it.
Again, but never Pawnee. If
Never
you want to
Pawnee.
be sure when you go under the water, there's no rocks.
Yeah, like seriously, if you look at Pawnee and the ingredients on the bottle say water, there's no additives, there's no minerals.
Find me where it says rocks on that.
No rocks.
No rocks.
No rocks. I mean, it's phenomenal.
0% chance.
Encore. Let's do the Encore read. The
Please.
Future Bengals Report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
that's right, Jimbo. Productivity. Visit encore.tech,
Jiminy Cricket.
where your path to innovation begins here. Right here.
That's right. Now for this next one, I'm going to stay silent, and so is Jacob.
I'm actually going to leave the room.
So
Yeah, just don't say anything until I throw it to you.
Well, no. Even when you throw it to me, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
I'm going to have to be 110% sure.
Awesome. Game Time. One of my favorite ticketing app sponsors that we have ever had. I think the only one, and the only one I will ever use for now until possibly I die, because I love Game Time that much. Pricing's all up front. Get to see exactly where you're sitting at. It's one of the smoothest apps, one of the cleanest apps I've seen on the market. It's got plenty of great features. It has Game Time pick filters, helps you get out all the fluff, shows you all the incredible deals on the great seats that they have, so you're not wasting any time searching through the thousands and thousands of tickets. It's phenomenal. Pricing right now for Reds games tickets, easy. You can get them for less than $10, especially how bad they're playing at the moment. And then the Bengals tickets right now, they're phenomenal. You can get in for like $100. You just got to look through the deals there. They got deals going on for week 1. They got deals going on for all their primetime games. Phenomenal deals at Game Time.
Yeah, Casey, on that, so we've talked about football stadiums we want to go see. Me and some friends, we all have an open weekend that we want to go check out Tennessee. Tennessee's taking on UTEP sometime in November.
Yeah.
They're taking on UTEP in November, so we found tickets 8 rows up for $112.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
At Tennessee. So I've never been there. We talked about that. That's the one stadium I want to go. But look at Game Time. Boom, $112 tickets or whatever for 8 rows.
There you go.
Up.
Nothing better.
Not bad.
Well, that brings me to my last bit of this ad read. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
That's right.
Whew.
Download the Game Time app today. Lowest price is guaranteed. Last minute tickets. So, also some other housekeeping items. Elliot, do you want to start this one off?
Yeah, I'll start this one. So some news in the Chatterbox world.
That's right.
We will be going on the road. We will be going on the road to my side of the universe, on the west side of Cincinnati. That's right. Chatterbox Live will be starting this Thursday. That is in, 2 days, 3 days?
That's right.
2 days, Wednesday, Thursday. So let's say 2 days? I don't know. Either way.
1 day in between today and the day that it's happening. I think that's the least confusing way to phrase it.
Yes. Yeah, now I'm all caught up. So Champions Bar and Grill, that's where we'll be. It's off Work Road. Every other Thursday this football season from 7 to 8. It'll be leading up right into Thursday Night Football, which you can then watch at Champions Bar and Grill.
That's right.
So that is what we'll be doing every single other Thursday for this entire football season. Come join us. Come have some fun. Again, that's Champions Bar and Grill off Work Road there. Please, please, please come see us, have some fun with us, and then stay for Thursday Night Football because it'll be a very fun time. It'll be also a Chatterbox Bengals themed show, so Jacob's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Casey's going to be there. Reed is going to be there when he's available. Kinner might be there every once in a while, depending. So it'll be a very,
If my
very
Joe Burrow jersey gets in by Thursday,
yeah, that's right.
I'll be there.
It'll be a very, very fun time. So hopefully we see you guys there and come say hi to us and come have some fun.
I'm excited for it. That's going to be the second Chatterbox Bengals episode of this week.
That's right.
Because episode 1 is tonight.
Yes.
Tonight at 6 p.m., me and Reed will be coming to you live to bring you the first iteration of preview for this Week 1 game. So we'll be talking about all the expectations for the Bengals leading into the season, new additions, when we think they're going to slide into the roster, and then how we think we match up with the Patriots. So big show tonight, big show Thursday. Make sure you come out on Thursday, and make sure you tune in tonight. So excited to see all you guys.
Also, just some other little things. We will put in the address in the Discord.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Elliot's doing that right now. Looks like someone already put the address possibly in the chat.
It is in the chat.
Nate, if that is the correct address, thanks for doing so. We really appreciate that. I'll just pin that for now so you guys can put that in your phone as a reminder for when we do this on Thursdays.
Can't wait.
And to clarify, it's every other Thursday. This is the first Thursday, so next Thursday we won't be doing it, but the Thursday after that, back. So every other Thursday.
And then the Thursday after that, second Thursday, we won't have it. And then the one after that, we'll have it again.
Yeah. If you guys didn't know.
How many days are there
that
until
means.
Thursday?
So there's one. So today is Tuesday.
Today is
and
Tuesday.
then-
You have to complete this day,
right?
though.
And then there's one more.
And
then
then
it's
there's Thursday night. That's what we'll be doing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys got it.
We've muddied those waters.
Question. In this Bengals live show, are we going to be giving out bets for the Thursday night game at all? Jacob and I were.
If we're not allowed
phenomenal.
to, then that's stealing
No.
money from our listeners. Because Casey and I had
An unbelievable
shocking
run.
year last year.
Yeah.
The 20 people that listen to Mac and JT were very rich.
We'll be having a gambling segment. We'll be doing the stink list there live. We'll also be doing a mailbag every single week. It's going to be a fun time. So come out and see us. Again, the address is now in the Discord. It's on Champions on the west side. There's a misconception that it's a Xavier bar. People like to say, oh, that's a Xavier bar, Billy O'Connor. It's not just a Xavier bar. It's also for every fan, Bengals, UC, Reds.
But you are a Xavier fan.
I am not, and neither is Reed. So that's the most important thing to take away. Reed is not a Xavier fan. But we will be there every other Thursday this Bengals season. And this football season. So if they make the playoffs, we go longer. So hopefully we have a good season this year, and hopefully we start out hot. Give me one hot start, Bengals. I don't want any 0-6 start like Jacob wants. Jacob wants the Bengals to start 0-8 just so they can go 9-8, win 9 in a row.
See, I want to go 0-8
squeak
so he
in.
can prove his theory.
It would be pretty fun if we started 0-7 and then went 10-7 and made the playoffs.
That
and
would
won
be
a Super
wild.
Bowl.
That would be wild. Because then I couldn't say anything. But there we go. We'll see Mouse Cop there. Mouse Cop's going to go. So everybody else, come on, join us. They've got pretty good food there. So have some fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. Last bit. Please hit the like button. We really
Please.
appreciate it, guys. More and more competitions out there every day for your attention, and we need to grow this show. And the only way we can do that is by liking the show and sharing it with a friend. So please like the show so we can get more viewers like you. Thank you. And with that, I think we've covered everything that we need to. Let's head back to the radio, Kenner.
Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett, off and rolling here on a Tuesday off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I know everyone's like, oh man, you guys barely talked about college football. I know, we'll talk more another time, but no, all college football talk today. Again, week 1 in the books. We've been waiting for football. Football's finally here. We got our first taste of it with college football over the weekend, and of course, we're looking ahead, full steam ahead, week 1 of the NFL season. Bengals, Patriots. Bengals, of course, 8.5-point favorite at home, coming up to kick things off coming up this weekend. So, what up, Casey?
I have a little breaking news that's pertinent to you. The Cleveland Browns Stadium is now called Huntington Bank Field. Congratulations.
Oh, see, now we're definitely winning. Now I was like,
The
man,
inferior
we're
banking.
Huntington Bank away from winning a Super Bowl. Here we go. You guys don't have Huntington Bank.
How many times am I going to call it First Energy this year? Over under 10.
All of them.
I honestly, I never, like when the Bengals changed it to Paycor and it became like a big thing, I'm like, I really don't care. Like the shoe. So obviously big Ohio State fan. Ross Bjork, the athletic director there, has talked about making the stadium naming rights available, which has never been done before. I don't give a rip who buys it. It's the shoe. I don't care what anyone wants to call it. They can call it Nike Stadium. They can call it whatever they want. It will always be the shoe to me. So, like, yeah. But I laugh. I'm only laughing because, like, I saw that Cleveland put that they're going to have an announcement at 11 a.m. or something like that. And I'm like, that was the announcement? That's just not a press release that, hey, we changed our stadium naming rights. Cool. Deuces. It's week 1. If that's your biggest news of the week, that's a problem. I don't really care about that. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying, like, why do teams do that? They get fans all excited
I like
just
it.
to say, hey, we're Huntington Bank Stadium now? I don't know. You like that?
I had fun when we switched to Paycor. I thought it was cool.
Okay. That just doesn't do it. But you guys like that? That
Yeah,
did something
I thought it was
for
cool. I mean, never having naming rights in the stadium before, finally selling it, getting money up for cash to pay guys. Yeah, I was really excited when we changed it.
Yeah, you guys apparently aren't buying enough TVs. If you guys hurry up and buy enough damn TVs, Jamar Chase would be paid by
No,
now,
you're
by
right.
the way.
You're right.
All the wordplay you could do with like pay the core, pay core
That's
stadium.
right. Yeah,
and
pay
look,
Joe Stadium. Yeah,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Wow.
Now they're not paying the core. But
Now it's paid Jamar and no
paid
one else.
Jamar.
Yeah. Let the core walk and maybe sign one guy.
All right.
Doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
We talked a lot of college football. We'll talk some NFL coming up around the corner. But there was a lot of other sports that went on over the weekend, and that's what our guy Elliot's going to get us caught up on. It's now time for Elliot's Headlines.
Is it?
Elliot's Headlines.
Is it time?
Elliot's headlines.
Elliot's headlines.
Elliot's headlines.
It's time for Elliot's headlines.
Elliot loves 3 things.
Elliot's
Elliot's
things.
headlines.
Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
Elliot's
That's
Headlines.
right.
There we go.
Elliot's
Leading off
Headlines.
the bench, 70 minutes into the show.
Yeah, so the Reds, if you watched them this weekend, I'm
Shouldn't
sorry.
have, yeah.
Sorry about that. The Reds lose the series to the Brewers, but they beat the Astros 5-3. Woo! The bullpen carried another game. They have now won 7 in a row against the Houston Astros.
I saw.
Anybody
Reed,
excited about that,
I saw
or-
Reed take a shot.
I did. I saw
when,
that
when
as well.
Chatterbox posted that over the weekend. He said, "Hang the banner." I'm like, you know what?
We should.
I kind of want to see that banner hung. I want to see a banner be hung.
The
Let's
Reds would
just
be the
real.
best team in the league if stats like that mattered. That they would be 100%. They'd be the best team in the league.
Yep, that's the most baseball thing ever, too.
But good for them. They beat the Astros. Whatever. Santiago
Like they
Espinal.
always do?
It seems like they
Yes.
always do. Santiago Espinal's bloop single drives in 2 big runs. Santiago Espinal has been absolutely incredible. He's now hitting 270 on the year. I wouldn't have thought that would be possible. He was hitting like 175 about a month and a half ago, so good for him. Amed Rosario, he went 2 for 4 with an RBI yesterday. Blake Dunn, he's back up with the Reds. They have now DFA'd Dom Smith. Thank you very much, Dom. What was your guys' favorite moment in the Dom Smith era?
Probably when we went to batting practice with Caleb 513
You're right.
and he didn't hit any home runs.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think he was ever close to hitting a home
No.
run.
Yeah,
But-
we said, Caleb, do you want to do the interview now? Someone's about to hit. And he said, no, it's Dom Smith.
It's Dom Smith. But thank you, Dom Smith. I'll remember you fondly. You played well, and you played with a lot of gumption. So.
I don't think he did either of those things.
Well, he was there though.
He was.
Ty France, he went 4 for 4 with an RBI. Looks like he's going to be a Red for the next 10 years. Give him a supermax. Tyler Stephenson, he went 2 for 4 as well. Good for all these guys, I guess. Quote, this is a quote from Emelio Pagan on the state of the Reds pitching staff, having to use bullpen 9 innings every single game. We don't have a choice. We have who we have right now. We all signed up to play. We didn't sign up to sit and watch this game. No matter what the team record is, no matter how our seasons are going, both as a team or individually, at the end of the day, we all fell in love with the game of baseball by playing the game. Thank you, Emelio Pagan. Clearly, they're going through it right now. I'm hoping the pitching staff gets a little bit of a break. Hopefully, we get some guys back from the IL, but it's going to be a tough last month of the season here. Reds and Astros will be back Wednesday. They will not play tonight. They will be back Wednesday. Spencer Arrighetti taking on Nick Martinez. Martinez has a 3.78 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. Arrighetti a 4.63 ERA and a 1.38 WHIP. They will look to extend the winning streak to 8 games against the Houston Astros. That is, by the way, the first time they've won back-to-back games. I want to say in 3 weeks, I think. 2 or 3 weeks. Good for the Reds. They play baseball. All right, Yankees, they take care of the Rangers 8-4. Stanton has reached 25 home runs this season. That is the 10th time in his career which he has done that. Good for him. He robbed Joey Votto of an MVP. Pirates take game 1 against the Cubs. They win 5-3. The Mets are now within a half game of the NL wild card. They win yesterday 4-1. Padres activated Fernando Tatis Jr. They shut out the Tigers 3-0. Guardians, they take game 1 against the Royals as they try to win their division. Dodgers crushed the Diamondbacks 11-6. Shohei Ohtani went 2 for 4 with 2 walks and 3 stolen bases. 3 stolen bases for Shohei Ohtani. He has 46 stolen bases on the season. He has 44 home runs on the season. That's pretty incredible. The Orioles obliterate the White Sox 13-3. All right, now I'm going to be honest with you. This is like half the headlines here.
This is
because
fun
this
now.
is incredible. The Chicago White Sox have now lost 11 in a row. That is the third 11-game losing streak of their season. It's the first team to have 3 10-game losing streaks in the same season since the 1965 Mets. It was the 20th consecutive Chris Flexen start that they have lost. They have lost 20 consecutive Chris Flexen starts.
They just keep running them out there.
They completed their first 0-10 homestand in franchise history. First time they've ever been at home and lost them all. They are 31-108. The AL Central is 38 games under 500. There are 5 teams in that division, and 4 of them are above 500. But as a division, they are 38 games under 500. The White Sox they have been shut out 15 times this year, and they have been swept 22 times this season. 22 sweeps they have suffered this year. Brutal. They are 4-36 since the All-Star break. 4 wins the Chicago White Sox have since the All-Star break. The White Sox would need to go 12-12 the rest of the way to avoid matching the expansion 1962 Mets, who went 40-120-1 for the most losses in a team since 1900. That seems like a stretch where they'd have to go, again, 12-12 would be almost impossible since they're on pace to finish 36-126. But on a more positive note, the 1899 Cleveland Spiders' overall record with 134 losses seems safe. So they can't beat 134 losses. Here's a quote from Grady Sizemore, the manager. "There's no sense in harping over the record right now. Our job is to get a win today. We're trying to just improve every single day and get better as each series goes on. My message has been the same since I got here. It's not about the record. It's not about wins. It's just about competing and playing together as a team."
It's the friends we made along the way.
He literally did my bit. It's not about wins and losses. It's about the friends you make along the way. And clearly, with 30 wins on the year, they are not making a lot of friends. But good luck to them.
Or maybe they are.
Or maybe they are. They got great snacks there at Guaranteed Rate Field.
The milkshake.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Looks great. Golf news, and this is pretty much the last headline of the day. Scotty Scheffler has won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Players, the Masters, the RBC Heritage, the Memorial, the Travelers, now the Tour Championship. He won the FedEx. So 20 starts, 8 wins, 17 top 10s, a gold medal in the Olympics, $62.2 million in total money this year for the world number 1, who's been world number 1 to start the year and who will finish world number 1 to end the year.
Workshopping a take that he's bad for golf.
What
It's like not even fun anymore.
What was his total earnings?
$62.2 million.
Okay. So I came across this graphic a little bit ago. I wanted to make sure it matched because obviously, social media, it's Bible, right? So the season earnings $62 million, as you talked about. So that narrows it down to he makes about $3 million a start, about $829,000 a round. Per hole makes 40. So per hole he makes $46,000 per hole, and then $12,000 per shot. Not bad.
We have more breaking news.
I think I saw
did you?
a similar thing. Well, no, not
okay.
to your thing.
All in a
He makes
full day's work.
$3,000 every minute he spends on the course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me, you know what I am? I'm out $110 by the time I pay for my golf. I ain't coming away with anything other than, just low self-esteem and out $110. So.
Also, the Dayton Dragons made the playoffs for the first time in 7 years, so good for them.
More breaking news that you're going to be thrilled about.
I'm excited.
Dante Corleone has been cleared to play.
There we
He'll
go!
be back for the Bearcats, presumably this week. Keegan Nickerson tweets that he's been cleared to play. It has not been decided whether he'll play this weekend against Pitt or not. That'll be determined during this week's practice, but he has been cleared. So great sign for UC's defense.
The Godfather returns. Hopefully that's going to help out the run defense a little bit. Hopefully we can take care of that and hold bad teams to under 200 yards of rushing. But nonetheless, I'm very, very happy for him. So good for Dante Corleone. Godfather.
You mentioned it. The Dragons making the playoffs for the first time since 2017. They will host. So the Dayton Dragons are heading to the playoffs. Game will be on September 10th at Dayer Ballpark. That's pretty cool. Again, they're led by Cam Collier, who one of the youngest players in the Reds in the system, and of course he won the Futures MVP. So that's pretty neat as well. So again, that's pretty cool. Again, at least one of the teams in the Reds farm system is doing some things. Is that the only team? I think that's the only team in the system that's making the playoffs right now.
I do think it's I think it's kind of funny that Reds fans are like, let's go Dragons, we made the playoffs. It's the minor league team, but who cares?
I never understood, because
I don't root for those teams. I don't care about their record.
Their records matter not at all. I guess it matters for the broadcaster. It's cool to see, the people associated with the team make the playoffs. But I didn't think that was you even celebrated that. That's just you extend your season. And
obviously, the players will. I wasn't surprised that they were celebrating.
No,
I was
with you
pretty
guys
surprised.
living in Dayton, they're actually. I mean, again, they sell at that ballpark. There are actually a huge pocket of Dragons fans that this is a big deal towards. With the interesting thing, so we've talked with different people in the Reds organization over the years about how they've put a focus on winning in the minors. Where that used to be Pete Rose's biggest gripe was that, years ago, it was all about just individual development and no emphasis on winning. Now they've put more emphasis on winning, which whatever that means. I don't know what that means. You put win in the clubhouse on the wall. Do you paint it in all bright green? I don't know.
Champion today.
Yeah. You have to believe and you hit it on the way out.
That's right.
I don't know what that means when they say that. But one of the things that they said that the reason you could tell that they've kind of shifted their focus more towards winning with developing is that you had guys come up last year that weren't just coming up expecting to just to develop individually, that it was about what do we need to do to win games. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But again, this has not been a great year for the Reds farm system, no doubt. The Dragons, the only bright spot. So there you go.
And by the way, so we have a super chat that I missed as well. I believe this is from RM. RM says the Reds' future sits in Dayton. Congrats, Dragons. So good for them. Good for them to get a winning season, I guess.
So there you go.
Those are your headlines.
By the way, was that segment 4 or 5?
5, I think.
Segment 5,
think so.
yeah. I have 5. So just making sure we're all on the same page. No doubt. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll wrap it up with some Bengals talk on the radio side. We appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us here on a Tuesday. Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. But we wrap up the radio side of things when we come back. You're listening and watching Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, live on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, and, of course, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll be right back. And I'm excited. I just saw the Outlaw Music Festival at Riverbend coming up on September 11th, I believe. Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, John Mellencamp. I'm jacked for that.
Those guys are all dead, right?
So my take with this, and he usually brings a bunch of really great musicians, great acts. But Willie Nelson probably shouldn't still be performing at the age of 99.
I saw Luke Combs open for the Outlaw Music Festival in 20.
Oh yeah, like you said, Willie Nelson brings a great group of guys. At this point in Willie Nelson's life, I feel like he just needs to just pack it up and go to a beach, brother.
Well, I mean,
just
relax.
Go
it's not like
life.
he's running for office or something. I mean, we don't need to get all worked up about it. I mean,
true.
By the way, this will be the first time at Riverbend that you can actually be legally high and watch Willie Nelson.
Wow.
Are we sure about that?
Has he been here?
Well, no, but can you smoke weed at a
Almost assuredly
I think you can.
at a private place? That's
have you ever gone?
Can you and the word legally are two
Have
very
you gone to a
different
Dave
things.
Matthews Band concert there? I think
But that doesn't make it
I didn't
legal.
even.
Yeah, it doesn't make it
That doesn't
legal
make it legal.
just because it's sick.
Well,
just
no,
'cause
but
it's a
you
real
said-
fun time.
But he said, "Can you smoke there?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I don't. I mean, legally now, I don't know."
No,
you said
legally
legally.
no.
But if you go, everyone's high there half the time anyway. So I'm like, they're clearly not emphasizing
but
it.
You're not
But
getting
you
it.
said legally.
You said legally.
Fine. The big question could be legal, but it's not
Well,
like
that's
it
the
not
big
being
question.
legal
That's
has
the
kept
question.
people.
If we're going to take away the legally, I think people were high last time Willie Nelson was
Hey,
here.
Correct. You're high every time.
Hey, when do we start the Riverbend ad reads? By the way, since we're promoting that they, you can get high at Riverbend. I heard it on
He
the
is-
I don't
Xbox.
think you can.
He is
I've
91
witnessed
years
it.
old. God bless this man's heart. 91 years old.
I can't wait.
Jeez.
Caleb Pine says Riverbend is a hot box.
What do you think Willie Nelson? What do you think he still plays on his set list? I'm gonna look it up.
like this, yeah.
What kind of songs is he playing at 91 years old? Does he do Hey Buddy, or what's the song about Buddy? Let me see. And this is great for the radio. Here we go. He starts it off with a cover.
Of
Looks
course.
like he does. In fact, it looks like he does mostly covers here.
Wait, I thought people covered him.
So Whiskey River,
That's a good song.
Johnny Bush cover. Stay a Little Longer, Bob Willis cover. Still is Still Moving to Me, I Never Cared for You, Texas Flood, that's a Larry Davis cover. Working Man Balloon, that's a Merle Haggard cover. If I Die When I'm High, Halfway to Heaven, that's a Patrice a Particle Kid cover. Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, Ed Bruce cover. Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground, On the Road Again, classic. You Were Always on the Mind, that's a Gwen cover. Just Breathe, Pearl Jam cover. Good Hearted Woman, Waylon Jennings cover. Everything is BS, Particle Kid cover. I've Been to Georgia on a Fast Train, Billy Joe Shaver cover. Write Your Own Songs. Oh, that's his song. Will the Circle Be Unbroken, William
He
McEwen
wrote the song
cover.
called Write Your Own Songs?
Yeah, he
That
did.
would have been a funny cover.
I'll Fly Away cover, and It's Hard to Be Humble cover.
Sounds
That's
like
all
a
covers.
riveting show.
I mean, a legend like that just
Who
doing
are you
nothing but
seeing?
covers. Yeah, like it's a legend just doing nothing but covers. Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting. All right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers.
What
Sorry.
was that segment?
But speaking of music, what are your thoughts on Eminem?
What about him?
Reed says Eminem's terrible.
Oh, I love Eminem. You guys don't like Eminem?
No, I like Eminem. Reed
What-
just said they were having an argument in the chat about if Eminem is good or bad.
I just laughed. His most recent album, he just had a lot of references to things from like the last time he released an album. It seems like there was like
I thought the last album was pretty bad, but nonetheless,
there's only one song I liked, but I mean, but the bottom line is, yeah, it was just okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounded like him, you know.
Reed's take is that post 2010 Eminem is the worst rapper ever.
I'm pretty sure he says all.
Or is
I
it
think
all
he,
time?
I think he lumps them all in.
He
there.
just hammers home the
I
post
think-
2010 if you make him give a little ground.
I think he lumps them. I think he lumps them in there to everything. But nonetheless,
You said Post, and made me think of Post Malone.
What an album.
When does he go on tour? By the way, it just
I
his
don't
all
know, but I
country
want to
tour.
go.
Like, and is he gonna get like all the big? I mean,
What are the 40-person tour? with
he
all
did
those
it right,
features?
dude. He
seems
got
like-
Dolly Parton. He got every big name you could think of to do a song with him. I've never seen anything like that. That was pretty wild.
it feels like if you were to go on that tour, you'd have to go with somebody. Like they'd go with as a group. Like it would be him. It would be a super show. Him, Morgan, and Chris Stapleton, or Chris Stapleton. Luke Combs, maybe Chris Stapleton. I don't know. But it would seem like you would go together. You sell out every arena in the country, and you do it that way.
Do we know who's coming to like? So it was Taylor Swift 2 years ago. Luke Combs. God, if they could do Post Malone at Paycor next year,
That'd be sick.
that would be awesome.
That'd be sick.
awesome. Speaking of
Post
Paycor,
Malone was still performing at Riverbend though, which I'm pretty shocked at.
Was he?
He was at Riverbend last year.
no, he wasn't doing his country stuff yet though. Right?
No, but it was just
Yeah.
his regular music. I thought he would sell out a ballpark.
just like a
arena.
whole stadium
Yeah.
or arena, whatever. But no. All right. The Cincinnati Bengals. Nothing really big happened over the weekend. I figured something was going to start leaking about a deal getting done. Of course, the team picture comes out, and well, he's smiling hard. So apparently, that looks like a guy that signed a deal recently. That's what the social media chatter was about. We did the buy or sell to close out the show last week. When we came back to the show on Tuesday, with Jamar Chase have signed a contract by then. Things started to pick up over the weekend, at least according to rumblings, that the Bengals and Jamar Chase were very, very close. But here we are on a Tuesday. There's no practice today. Look, the bottom line, it doesn't matter when it gets announced. It just, I think at this point, it's just, will he play Sunday? I think that's really, at this point. Signing today, tomorrow, Thursday, doesn't matter. I think the big thing is it's game week. This was a topic of conversation throughout camp when there was weeks to go before the season. But really, it doesn't matter. If he signs it today, yes, he's going to play Sunday. We're still going to be questioning, well, what's he going to look like on Sunday? It's not like this guy's out of shape, but the sync and rhythm of the offense, where does he fit in there? But, yeah, over the weekend, it sounded like stuff was picking up a bit, but ultimately nothing, and here we are, and same old, same old.
If he shows up Sunday and he looks incredible and he scores 2 touchdowns and he gets 115 yards on 8 catches, we're going to forget about this, all of it, real quick, really quick.
Yep.
If he shows up on Sunday with 4 catches, he's got like 2 drops, no touchdowns for like 50 yards, this is going to be a story we hear about all season long. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm concerned that the fan base is starting to turn on him. Not all the fan base. I think there's a majority of it that's level-headed. This is how the business side of the NFL works. But I am concerned if he shows up on Sunday and he looks very clearly unprepared to play the game, we're going to see this fan base turn on him, and that's the kind of negativity I do not want to start my season. I want one normal start to my season. That's all I want. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that he's there on Sunday. There's no belief in my heart that he will not be suited up, ready to go on Sunday against the Patriots. I think he'll be there. I think he'll show out. I think he'll show up, and he'll have a great game. But there is always the thought in my mind that either he, A, sits out, which, again, I don't think is possible, but nonetheless certainly is. And then there's the chance that he plays bad. And I think him playing bad might be as bad as him not even showing up. I think both those things are synonymous right now because the fan base is starting to turn, and I don't want everybody to be out on Jamar Chase week one into this season.
Yeah. I am the least confident I've been at any point in time this offseason that he plays week 1. Yeah. I'm still 100% confident that he plays week 2. I think there's a very realistic chance he sits out for the Patriots game to try to put added pressure on the Bengals. He's sitting in that skybox with his sweatsuit on, watching the game, because obviously he's been here the whole time. He's going to be at the stadium for the game, whether he's in uniform or not. I think there is a chance that he does not play week 1. I'm not worried at all about him sitting out for the entire season or even sitting out beyond like week 2 or week 3. I think week 1 is the line for me that I'm starting to think that he could legitimately sit out. I also think there's about a 50% chance he still gets a deal done.
Yeah.
I'm not out of the woods on that. I think it's about as unlikely as it's been, in my opinion, just because I feel like when he practiced and then sat back out, if the Bengals were going to make those final concessions, they would have done so at that point.
Yeah.
So unless he's the one to make some concessions about the demands for his contract, I don't think it's going to get done this offseason. The door's definitely still open, but I don't think a contract's going to get done this offseason. I don't know for sure that he's going to play week 1. I am still 100% confident that he's going to play week 2 and beyond.
Look, so the Ravens and Chiefs kick off Thursday night at 8:20. The Chiefs kicked off against the Lions last year, Thursday Night Football, same thing, and that's when they did the Joe Burrow announcement, right? This isn't a hot take. I know we've discussed this in the past, but I would not put it past Jamar Chase to announce, or in the Bengals to announce that they've got a contract done moments before kickoff or when they're doing the ring ceremony. But again, it goes back to what we opened this conversation up with. It's no longer about the contract. I don't think anyone's he's going to sign at some point. It's ridiculous it's taken this long to get to this point, but it's like, will he play week 1? That's what has everyone talking right now. Let me ask you, Casey, if he doesn't play, if it's announced that he's not going to play on Sunday, they're still beating the Patriots. I have no doubt about that, right? But, what does that do to that line? The gap, you take Jamar Chase out, it closes the gap between the Patriots and Bengals to what degree? It's an 8.5-point line now, according to ESPN Bet, what I have on my screen. What does it move that line to, in your opinion?
Well, it's already moved then significantly. I thought it was at 10 before, the opening line, maybe even 11.
It was 9.5 going into the weekend.
Yeah, so I'll say that it's probably 2 or 3 points. I'll go with 2 just because 3 is just a lot for a single player on a team, despite what the line should be moving at. I don't know if it matters a whole lot versus the Patriots. It's a lot different if it's the Kansas City Chiefs or if it's the Ravens. I think that there's a legitimate argument that is way more harmful for the Bengals in terms of the line movement, but I think they easily take care of business against the Patriots. They might be the worst roster in the NFL.
I don't know how might be. It is.
They are.
I think they are. Pretty clearly the worst team in the NFL. I mean, maybe Jacoby Brissett shows something that we don't expect. Maybe Drake May takes over and he lights it up. But I think they're pretty distantly the worst roster in the league. And I mean, Vegas would agree with that. They're plus, I think, 250 to have the worst record in the league. And second is the Panthers at plus 700.
Can you imagine Shador in New England? Ew. Ew.
Oh.
Ew. I don't think they rarely have that conversation where I don't want a star player to go into that, but I don't want Shador in New England. It doesn't really kind of,
Yeah, luckily I don't think they're going to be looking for a quarterback. But
No.
It would be Travis Hunter.
No, probably Will Campbell.
I'm more confident betting the Bengals spread if Jamar doesn't play. It's one of those weird gambling things to me where I think they'll be locked in, focused. T will have a great game. Honestly, I think as that line continues to drop, the more I love the Bengals.
Right.
So it's just one of those weird fan things. But Nonetheless, yeah, I think it certainly does matter. It'll impact the game whether Jamar Chase is on the field. Obviously, he's your best wide receiver. My biggest concern is that he plays and he plays bad. I don't know if it's even in him to play legit bad. I don't know if he's had a game where he's even played quote unquote bad, like multiple drops. T's had a couple games last year where he had multiple drops. He didn't look great. But Jamar Chase, at least in my recollection is not. Still can't get that word out.
Recollection.
Thank you. He hasn't had a bad game. At least from what I've
What's a bad
seen.
game? Low production or a bad game?
I'm
Because you brought up the drops, so that's a good.
I'm talking drops, and
Yeah.
I'm talking like
Miscommunication on routes. Yeah, like
not being
stuff that could be corrected in practice.
yes,
Like that's
that's
the
so
part.
that's what I'm concerned about.
That's fair. That's
Jamar
fair.
Chase has missed 5 games in his career with the Bengals over the last 3 years. The Bengals are 3-2 in those 5 games. There's a couple big ones that stand out in there. The Joe Mixon 5-touchdown game against the Panthers, Jamar didn't play. The Halloween blowout loss to the Browns, Jamar didn't play. 2 Steelers games and then a win in Tennessee. So the Bengals have been able to do okay without him. They average 284 passing yards per game, a 93 quarterback rating, but the big thing that sticks out is a 9-6 touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah,
The Joe Burrow, and obviously Joe Burrow wasn't the quarterback for all 5 of those games, but Joe Burrow or whoever else is in a quarterback, when you don't have Jamar Chase as your number one weapon, you're forcing things a little bit more often, and you're trying to capitalize on smaller windows because you don't think those windows are going to exist as frequently, and that's definitely a logical concern for a quarterback in an offense that you know is going to have to drive this team. It's going to have to be a passing-led offense, and I think that 9-6 touchdown interception ratio is just the product of not having the guy that you rely on, the guy that can create a lot of that separation, and you're forced to go to smaller windows. But T takes a massive step up in games without Jamar. He's averaging 102 yards per game. He has 3 touchdowns in those 5 games, and he gets 8.8 targets per game, which is almost 2 full targets higher than he does without Jamar Chase. So he's been able to pick up the slack very, very well. Obviously, with Jamar out over just 5 games in his career, we haven't seen it much, but he's been pretty good without Jamar, so I'm not too worried about playing the Patriots in this just one week.
If you're going to compare the games that they played without Jamar Chase, like the Panthers and the Titans and the Browns and the Steelers, the Patriots definitely fall closer to the Panthers than they do the Steelers or the Browns defense by far. So, like I said, I'm not worried about this game at all. I'm more worried about week 2, but I think that if he does sit out, I just cannot see the Bengals not signing a deal by week 2. If he's committed to this, you know that you should be taking him seriously, that he's going to be sitting out games if you don't sign him. It still bugs me that it's not been done yet because you know what he's worth on the open market. You know what he's worth. Just sign the deal. I don't get it. Something has to be wrong if they don't get it done within the next. If he is not signed by week 2, I'll be very upset.
I wonder if he has insinuated that he's not going to sit out. And that's why the Bengals aren't like pedal to the metal. Obviously, he's not going to come out and say that.
You've joked that
Right.
You've made the joke for weeks now that Jamar Chase is absolutely atrocious at sitting in / out. Because the whole point of sitting in / out is to put leverage or to give yourself leverage to put the pressure on the front office. But if that's the case, that's also annoying. Hey, I'm going to play week 1, but I'm just not going to practice until I get a deal done. Then what the hell's the point? That just sounds like a guy that, every day's Labor Day. Like I'm just taking every day off. Like that doesn't make any sense. I agree with you. Something's like there seems to be no urgency or panic, but it's like at some point he's just really, really bad at this, or they're goofy for not giving him what he's asking for, especially if they're going to give it to him anyway.
We saw it this morning with Trent Williams and the 49ers. Trent Williams hasn't been at camp. He's been holding out, not with the team, not in the facility. And today he flew to the Bay Area and signed a contract with the 49ers. That is how you put pressure on a team. And I'm certainly in no way, shape, or form saying I want Jamar Chase to start holding out instead of holding in.
Yeah.
Not at all what I want. But that's what makes more sense for a guy like him who's trying to get a contract at an unprecedented rate, early, higher than anyone else. I really don't understand why he's still in the facility, and I think that has taken a lot of pressure off of the Bengals for trying to get this done. I know we talk about it all the time, but how much pressure is on the Bengals when Jamar Chase is at practice every day? I really don't know how high that is. I understand you'd like to have him out there. You'd like to have a solid yes that he's going to play week 1, and Zach Taylor gave us that yes and then has since walked it back and listed Jamar as day-to-day going into week 1. But I really don't know how much pressure's on the Bengals, and I think the only way at this point that pressure could really, really grow is if he does sit out week 1.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on, no doubt about it, especially as we head in. And that was the big thing I had, too. Like, you look at Trent Williams and others, like the Niners, oh, man, crap, we have a game this week. We got to get a deal done. Like, if I'm a Niners fan, I'm so beyond annoyed with the Niners this whole time because he could have been in camp and could have been, acclimated a long time ago. Same thing with the Cincinnati Bengals. If he ultimately, by the way, when that comes out over the weekend, he just wants one penny more. And I'm like, well, he's going to get more than Jamar Chase. But it's like, stop making a mockery of it. One penny more. Yeah, 1 penny more. Like, stop making a mockery of it. Just get the deal done. And I know that's not all on Jamar. The Bengals need to pony up as well. All right, but at the same time, like, I don't want to hear about, if I'm a Bengals fan, I don't want to hear about no damn penny. Oh, this is cute. This is funny. Just 1 penny more. Super. Fantastic. But, yeah, is what it is. I'm just glad that finally there's games this week. I still think if a deal gets out, it's going to be just like last year when Joe Burrow, they announced his deal right during the ring ceremony.
That'd work great for us because we'll be live.
That's right.
That would be perfect.
Yes. Right? So there you go. All right. That wraps it up for us. Do you have anything else, Casey?
No, it can wait till after.
Oh, okay. Well, that wraps it up for us on the radio side of things. Again, hope everybody had a great weekend. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll dive into some more NFL stuff, of course. And, what else we got tonight? Oh, yeah, the Reds are off. What will we talk about tomorrow? Man, is this like mid-July or something? No.
I think we can just do another 2 hours of college football.
2 hours of college football.
We'll
I like
talk
it.
unranked teams.
All right, this has been Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. I just saw that, I think it was, I forgot who asked, it might have been Everett. There are people who believe there's no way in hell he holds. I know you're worried about him missing week 1, but it keeps being brought up. Well, how is he's going to lose a lot of money if he doesn't. The whole reason he's been doing the sit in versus the sit out is because if you sit out, you lose money during camp. If you show up, you don't lose any money. You show up, you don't participate in practice, you don't lose any money. I'm not defending your boy being Adam Schefter. But this is why I was kind of poking fun at some fans who were overreacting to Adam Schefter like Zim Houday. All right, to me and him, we clashed over the weekend. Zim Houday getting all in his feelings.
Visceral reaction.
He got all in his feelings, but I can't believe how disrespectful it was of Adam Schefter to suggest that he should fake an injury. He didn't suggest that he should fake an injury. What he was saying is if you follow other teams, and I know a lot of you are new to football, you just became fans of the Bengals within a couple years, you will know, okay, that a lot of guys, when they get to this point, you have to have a reason to miss games or you lose money, they fake an injury. It's not right. I'm not saying I'm okay with it. I'm not even saying that Jamar Chase should or will do it. But neither did Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter never said that he should do it. He was saying that, well, they're saying there's no way he's going to miss games. And he's saying, well, there is a way. He can fake an injury. Like that's exactly what players have done in the past when they want to try to add a little bit more time. So there you go. That's when I saw that, and by the way, I'm not saying that he will or should do that by any means, but there are little loopholes around it. I don't think he would go that route. I don't think he would, him or his agent would go that route, but there are loopholes to get out of losing money while sitting out at the same time. He could walk in and say, man, my calf's a little tight. Man, my ankle hurts a little bit. I don't know. It didn't feel good when I planned it. I'm gonna sit this one out this week, coach. We'll keep an eye on that. I still think he signs it Thursday. That's my guess. Okay, I'm not even stirring the pot saying he's going to miss games. I think he plays Sunday. I think the deal gets done Thursday night. The pettiness started at the beginning of camp when he wouldn't even say Patrick Mahomes' name, right? You remember he wouldn't even say his name? He hates the Kansas City Chiefs. If there's any way that he can get a dig in on them, any way he can, it would be to announce it during their ring ceremony to get all the media talking about that, taking the attention away from them. That's my guess. I think Jamar Chase, they announced the contract Thursday night right before kickoff, Chiefs-Ravens. And I respect that. I love that level of pettiness, to be honest. So there you go.
We got an
shot
updated
at the Bengals. It just is what it is. Yeah.
We've got an updated Bengals depth chart that came out going into week 1, and the receiver listed behind Jamar Chase on the depth chart is Jermaine Burton. So potentially, if Jamar does hold out for week 1, we could be seeing more Burton than we previously expected. The other big thing that sticks out from this depth chart really makes me wish we had our old friend in the room still. Drew Sample is the starting tight end. Mike Gesicki, tight end 2.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait, say that again?
Has he had
Drew
that bad of a
Sample
camp?
is listed. No, I just don't think he's a tight end. I think he's going to play slot receiver and be split out.
I see.
So when you run an actual true down tight end, I think it's going to be Sample. I think that's why.
see.
That's my
Okay.
interpretation of this depth chart. I still think we'll see a lot of Gesicki. But yeah, Drew Sample listed as the starting tight end, Mike Gesicki tight end too. But it is important to note every reporter that's been at Bengals practice the entirety of camp have said they've been running more 11 personnel than they have in any other time in Joe Burrow's tenure. So that means 2 tight ends on the field, and I think that lends itself to Mike Gesicki being less of a tight end than anyone expected. The other big thing that sticks out, cornerback. Zach Taylor noted yesterday that Dax Hill would start, and that's obviously reflected in this depth chart. Cam Taylor-Britt and Dax Hill as the starting corners. Josh Newton and DJ Turner backing them up. Really fun is Andre Yoshivas, wide receiver 3.
There we go.
So a lot of Yoshi to start the year. Obviously, a lot of questions about how that position is going to shake out with a lot of guys throwing their hat into the ring to be the wide receiver 3 of this offense. But Andre Yoshivas takes the position in the first depth chart, and that's obviously something that I'm super, super excited about.
Is this a matter of Yoshivas being really, really good or Burton not as good? And again, Burton's not drafted. Just that's why I don't like when people talk about if they don't live up to the hype right off the bat that it was a bad draft pick, because Burton was drafted big picture, knowing you're going to lose T. All right, they need depth at wide receiver to kind of fill that void, right? But is that more of Yoshivas being really, really good or Burton not being as good as what many thought right off the bat? Because I know as a rival fan of your team, when they drafted him, I was like, damn, that's a guy that if he didn't have if he didn't have the character issues, he's a first-round wide receiver probably being taken, and you guys got him with your second pick. So I was kind of afraid of that pick initially, but third pick, sorry, good save. My apologies.
I think it's just more knowing what you have in Yoshi.
Correct.
It's the set option. You know what you're getting every single week with Yoshi. You don't know what you have with Burton yet. I'm sure we'll find out what we have in the coming weeks. But at least to start off week 1, it's just one of those things. I'll take the sure hand, especially as we deal with whatever the hell's going on with Jamar Chase right now.
And that's why I keep saying wide receiver 3 right now.
Yeah.
I think that position is going to be in flux throughout the entire year. I think we're going to see games where Charlie Jones is the third leading receiver. I think we're going to see games where Burton's the third leading receiver. I think we're going to see games where Trent Irwin could be the third leading receiver on this team. So I think that position is going to be kind of a musical chairs all year long.
Burrow has weapons. Right? He has weapons.
No one ranked him very high anymore.
No. This is what Zimmy and I got into over the weekend. Joe Burrow has no help. He has no weapons. Nobody.
Yeah, no one's ranking the Bengals weapons top 10 anymore, which I think is bizarre, but that's national consensus. It's weird. Yeah.
Okay.
I certainly think he does, but that's a contrarian take now, I guess.
I mean, if you look on paper, it's certainly the running back room is the worst it's been in Joe Burrow's career. And that's at least my opinion. Looking at it right now, I'll take Joe Mixon over Zach Moss, and Chase Brown, no doubt about it. So, but in wide receiver room, when you lose Tyler Boyd, you still don't have that replica of maybe Jermaine Burton is that guy. I don't know if he is yet. So as of right now, it is certainly the worst talent room he's had to deal with during his career. I don't think that's even a bad thing. It just as what he's had the past couple of years, as opposed to what he has right now, I think it's certainly been worse. Yeah.
For tomorrow's show, I already pulled this up. NFL.com ranked the best triplets in the NFL as quarterback, receiver, running back, that whatever, and the Bengals aren't even in their top 5. So that had people talking on first things first.
Did it have to be running back?
That I need to dive into a little bit. When I caught the segment a little bit, it caught my attention, and I didn't hear what the criteria was, but I thought I heard him say running back.
If it's quarterback, wide receiver, running back, I'm fine with that. If it's any 3 on offense, I'm still pretty upset.
But it's when you see the teams that are in there that you're like the Chiefs are in there.
Yeah.
Quarterback, receiver, running back.
People adore Isaiah Pacheco. I am not one of those people.
He hates the ground.
He hates the ground. He runs so hard.
I love him. I think he's so much fun to watch.
He's incredibly fun to watch, don't get me wrong. I won a lot of money on him at Rutgers. But yeah, I just don't. How many 7th-round running backs in the history of the NFL have had multi-years of top production? It's a very small list.
Small list.
That's the only reason.
That's the update you had for us, right, Casey?
Yeah, I was going to talk about the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The depth chart, but that's okay.
I did not mean to hijack that from you.
No, you're good. You're good. We saw probably the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
Well, you guys see this too, by the way. So Darius Slay with the Eagles, he is not looking forward to being in Brazil for the season opener. Have you heard the mess that they're having to deal with going down there?
Yeah, they can't leave their hotel room.
Not allowed to leave your hotel. You cannot walk the streets with your cell phone, and you're not allowed to wear the color green. So what did the NFL do? They took 2 green teams the Packers and the Eagles and send them to Brazil because
The Eagles
it's a color
are
of
debuting white and black uniform.
yeah, it's a color of a
Oh
gang.
my God.
And there are multiple players who are saying we're not even like this sounded cool at first, but they're not even bringing their families.
Yeah.
Darius Slay says I do not want to go to Brazil. They already told us not to leave the hotel. The crime rate is crazy. I told my family do not even come down here. The NFL, I get, is a business that generates billions of dollars, which means you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this game. You don't have to go to Brazil. Brazil's an absolute blank show right now. I have no clue why you're doing this. It's very unnecessary. Casey?
You think about why they chose Brazil, right? And you probably think, why did they choose the two teams, the Eagles and the Packers? And it's like, well, maybe the reason why is because they order a lot of green things that you probably shouldn't wear, like the jerseys, and they just didn't think the correlation, like, maybe they're buying that because that's what the gangs are all about.
Fans are screwed.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I just, like, this is just a weird. I already thought Brazil was a weird place to go. It's Brazil, right?
Yeah.
I don't
a
know
weird
what the numbers.
destination. Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are that made them decide to go here, but I don't know. It's just a weird spot when you know that you're putting your players and
Yeah.
people in harm's way.
Obviously, the crime and player safety and them being worried about bringing their families is the number one concern and something that we're going to have to be focused on over this week leading up to Friday, just making sure everyone's okay down there.
Yeah.
I think that's an important storyline to focus on going into this game, but something that's obviously way, way down the totem pole from a lot of those concerns. But for fans, Brazil has banned Twitter.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Twitter has
forgot
been
about
banned
that.
in Brazil last week, and it was voted on by
What?
the Supreme Court and I don't know if it's called the Supreme Court, but whatever their version of higher government is, voted on and ratified to ban Twitter. So for this game in Brazil, what are the updates going to be like? Are there going to be clips on Twitter? Is the NFL going to be able to pull
I
it
don't
from their
know,
broadcast?
Oh, they will. They'll just have VPNs.
There just won't be any reporter. Oh yeah, I guess reporters could just do VPNs. Are you really risking?
I wouldn't risk that. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like I think there's at least a chance that I have faith that Rappaport and all those psychos are going to get away around it. But like, there's a chance that we watch an NFL game on Friday night with very limited social media updates.
I forgot it was Friday night.
Yeah,
But it's just not necessary. Like
At
I
all.
I don't know what
someone said that Brazil paid them, but and I get that. Like so WWE get hit a lot because they go over to Saudi Arabia. They
Yeah.
do like a big Saudi Arabia show once or twice a year, but they get paid million. I mean, I think it was like $1 billion deal that they got done to pay, and they always request like guys that are retired. They want Hulk Hogan to wrestle. It's the wildest thing. Like so. I think that's why they wanted to host the RNC or whatever, like, because they wanted Hulk Hogan there. I'm not really sure. But no, in all seriousness, like, I've seen that, but like, okay, wrestling, you're trying to get your product out there to be global, right? Does the NFL it's already global, but does it need to be global? Yeah, the most popular sport in this country. You're not going to overtake football. I just don't understand why they need to put their players and fans and media in harm's way. I hope nothing happens, but if something happens, I'm not going to be happy about it, but it will be a god-awful look for the NFL if something happens at the expense of everyone else so that they can make a dime. Absolutely ridiculous, if you ask me.
Yeah,
So-
I hate the international games.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the premise is that you want to make it like the Premier League. You want to make it as big as soccer is, football worldwide. You want to take over the world with your sport. I get that. And I did look it up. So Brazil is the third largest NFL fan base outside of the country. It's behind Canada and I think it's London, maybe,
That makes sense.
maybe it's either London or Mexico. I forget which one it is. Either way, they're number 3. And then in December, the league's owners they passed a resolution requiring teams to play an international game every 4 years, starting next season. So there could be 8 international games in 2025. So they're going to continue to do this until they're just. I don't know what the plan is. Maybe it's to get a team overseas and you bring that team in. But the logistics of that seem impossible.
I have said it for a long, long time and still believe it. I think the only way you get an international team is if you get 4.
Yeah.
You have to get 4, and you have to have a whole division in London or a whole division.
Yeah.
In Mexico or Canada would be a little bit different because it's so close. But if you went all the way to London, which is what's been talked about forever, you got to get 4 teams over there, and you almost have to play half the schedule in London and then come over to America for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And instead of going back and forth, because I don't think it's even remotely feasible to put a team or 2 in London and have them fly back and forth across the pond, on Mondays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to ask of these guys.
Yeah, and free agents. You ain't going there.
Good luck.
Ain't going there. I grew up of playing in England. I highly doubt that as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I just thought that was, when I came across that, it definitely caught my attention when you have a player, and good for him for coming out and saying it, because the league, I'm pretty sure, well, we talked about this with soccer. MLS was coming out and saying they were going to fine any organization that was criticizing the cup. So I'm surprised the NFL hasn't come out and done something similar here as far as that goes. But nonetheless.
47,000 seat arena. It will share revenue generated from the game among the league's 32 franchises. So not just the two teams going are splitting it evenly with the other 30 teams that aren't going. That's wild.
You remember the game they played in Mexico City a few years ago that had to be stopped because of the lasers?
Oh, yeah.
We think we're going to get lasers Friday night?
I think it'll be something else. It'll be funny, though.
Lasers was fun.
If it stops at the lasers, but if it...
That's a good call.
Speaking of that, kind of, I saw you tweeted out the touchdown celebration for the receiver for LSU.
Oh my gosh.
The shotgun celebration.
Like,
maybe I shouldn't give my take on it. Are we off radio? We're off radio.
We're off radio.
I love Kyron Lacey, and that penalty made me fly him up my draft board. He's either wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 for
because
me right now.
He did the shotgun
Yes.
thing?
If my wide receiver is not getting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties after scoring touchdowns on someone's head, I don't want him. That's LSU football. That's wide receiver U. If it's not Ohio State, it's LSU. I loved that from Kyron Lacey. I thought he played great. I loved the penalty. And when he went over to the sideline,
he doubled down. He did it twice.
He goes, I went, and he went. It was hilarious. I love Kyron Lacey. I think LSU's gonna be pretty good this year.
I had a totally different take than that. I was gonna spin it to where he plays way too much Call of Duty. That's what I was gonna say.
That's what I saw.
He plays way too much Call of Duty to be doing that sort of celebration. But hey, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with the personal foul penalty. I love my receivers.
Oh, he definitely deserved the penalty. I'm not asking for them to rescind the penalty. I just thought it was a good selling.
I mean, because you're running out of good sellies.
Yeah, air them out.
And there you go. You know?
What about the kid who jumped over the referee?
Did you notice the best part about that clip? I think a lot of people didn't notice.
No, what?
Wisconsin scored.
Yeah.
That was a Western Michigan DB.
Yeah, and that made the highlight. Made the highlight of the top 10, but it wasn't the touchdown then. It was about the guy.
It was the defender.
The official.
It was just pure 100% intrusive thoughts.
And
That's
usually
hilarious.
no celly, no adrenaline, nothing.
And by the way, kudos to the official, and I mean this, because those guys, I've seen them accidentally get bumped into when they throw the flag for contact to the official. He easily could have done that.
That definitely should have been a penalty.
He easily could have done that. And I
put both your hands on his back.
When he leaped over him, he just kind of patted him like, my bad. I didn't mean to be in your, line of leaping.
That was truly the college football's back, Mac is back moment.
That was great.
Wisconsin comes back and you're leapfrogging the ref.
Did you include in your headlines Chestnut?
No.
I can't believe
that. It was incredible.
This is a sports show, dude.
Incredible.
This is a sports show.
80 dogs.
80 hot dogs. How many did
83
the other guy
to be
get?
exact. In 10 minutes.
How many did the other guy
Not
get?
even close.
60 something. Yeah.
That's gross.
Get back in your hole, Kobayashi. The king still reigns.
By the way, you want to know what was most impressive? He didn't dip.
No dip. That was a rule.
What do you mean no dip?
They can't. You know how they dip the buns and just down their gullet?
They were at 83
Really?
Ellie dogs.
Yeah, no dips.
Elliott dogs too, just plain.
That's what. And were they the big ones? Or were
they were all beef Franks.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
They were all beef Franks. He made very sure to let everyone know that he is not anti-American.
When
the report that he wanted to eat vegan hot dogs was not true. He is a warm-blooded American that wants all beef hot dogs.
This is a good way to. That's great, by the way. This is a good way to end the show. What are his bowel movements like after that? I imagine
straight dog.
I imagine you're just there for an hour and a half. It's almost a workout when you go to the toilet after that nonsense.
I think a
What
follow-up.
about when you go to the doctor?
Yeah.
What do you tell them? Yeah, I mean, I just eat.
What's
eat
your
6
diet?
Hot dogs in 5
What's
minutes.
funny
But
you
he's
ask.
eating them so fast.
And hot dogs
How
aren't
much chewing is going on?
No chewing.
So how are they coming out?
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how
These
it works.
full hot dogs?
Full-on hot dogs.
Oh.
I think that stuff, by the way, I can't watch it. It grosses me out.
Oh, it grosses me out.
I
too.
had to do, it's for Dayton Children's Hospital about a month ago. They did at Submarine House, they did a Philly cheesesteak eating contest, okay? Now, my friends made fun of me so bad because I'm like, for one, I think those contests grossed me out for one, but I didn't mind doing it. You know, it's for charity, right? Wanted to do it. I'm literally just taking bites, just taking regular bites, but trying to chew as fast as I can. There were guys who, and I'm not joking, it was so disgusting. This one guy was throwing up as he's eating, and he kept eating the sub. I'm like, that's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I can't get down for the cause that much. Not going to throw up on myself and eat it. That's nasty. But that's a horrible way to end the show today.
I
One
saw.
of the
I got
worst movements ever.
I got a better
Bowel
one. I got a better
movements
one.
and puking.
So the NFL tweeted a NFL is back video.
Let's go.
This was posted yesterday at 7 p.m. In this video, you see Taylor Swift 5 times.
Very nice.
In this video, you see Lamar Jackson, the 2023 NFL MVP, once.
Wow, impressive.
And the NFL's official "Welcome, We Are Back" video.
Another official hype video news I wanted to touch on.
Oh,
I
here we
think
go.
2 minutes is about good. Did everyone see the USC hype video?
I did.
The Trojan
I
horse.
bet after you sent it to me.
It was a great hype video. It was incredible. The
inaccurate.
one question I had for the USC media team, do they think the Trojans were inside the Trojan horse?
I think they might.
Yeah.
Because they
did.
They rolled the Trojan horse in.
I think they might.
Then the camera went inside and it was the USC Trojans. I don't think they know what the Trojan horse is.
No.
Yeah, I think I think you're right.
That's
That
tough
was a
one.
rough look.
That's a tough one to get through all of the media team. Just like no one noticed. Like, huh?
No one went to like 5th grade history class. Like that's like one of the first things you learn in world history.
Well, I think they were paying. I think a lot of those kids are there on their parents' dime. They pay them to be on the rowing team and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, but the media team,
I don't know.
they did a good job. It was a good video.
Great video.
Great video. Just don't know history. Like a simple Google search, man. Were the Trojans inside the Trojan horse?
Maybe they
Yeah.
believe
No.
revisionist history that actually they won that battle. Maybe.
That's a tough spin zone, but I'll let you work on that one.
Yeah.
I'll let you flush that out.
Yeah. I have to work on that one.
And just like that, it's noon.
Look at that.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's
Welcome
right.
back, college football. Welcome back, NFL. And we'll be back tomorrow. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you give the show a like. Continue to hit that like button. We really appreciate it. And we'll do this all again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.